Hey everybody, you are tuning in to the Canary Cry News Talk live stream, pre-stream. Congratulations for being here a little bit early. We got a great show. We're going to get started in just about a minute. Now, here's the thing, folks. A big old congratulations to Jay Villa over on DLIVE for First Comment of the Day award. Wow, Jay Villa, you really brought it home for the DLIVE crew. I'm sure you get some sort of DLIVE prize for that. So now, folks, I want to remind you to follow us on multiple platforms. You think it's a joke, you're hearing me now, you're just letting this opportunity pass you by. But we've seen over the past few episodes, those who do not follow us on multiple platforms, they don't get notifications. When a stream gets cut, they just disappear. They miss the show. It's for your own good. You need to follow us in multiple places, including youtube.com/canarycryradio, twitch.tv/canarycryradio, also over there on DLive. That's right, Canary Cry Radio. We're all over the place. Make sure to follow us there. And, of course, absolutely need to subscribe on a podcast feed. Use whatever podcast catcher you want to use, but subscribe to Canary Cry News Talk. All right, before we get going here, if you're early, you have a responsibility to hit the like button, turn on notifications, all that kind of stuff. Share it out with your friends, and most importantly, stay hydrated. Let's go.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is March 29th, 2021. This is episode 318. And today, Leviathan birthed Earth. That's right, folks. And you know me, I'm not CDC director. I forgot her name. But I am your best buddy, Basil.
Well, it's March 31st, not 29th.
Oh.
But
why did I say 29th, I wonder?
Because it said 29th, I just fixed it.
Oh,
you're just a teleprompter reader. I write the script. That's my fault.
Didn't even think about it.
And I'm not a cackling canary, but I am crying inside.
Oh.
When I read the news, I slowly start to cry. My name is Gonz. Welcome to the podcast where we praise Jesus while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. And I'm going rebel today, Basil. My hat's on backwards.
Oh my gosh. It's a new age.
It's a new age.
We will launch a new age.
Wow,
Don't mess.
Going backwards. Switching up the look, getting a little bit more aerodynamic, fitting in with the cool kids. What inspired such a drastic change in your, your strategy here?
Things that move forward tend to slow down. So I thought, turn it around and slow it down.
Wow. I did not think that you would be able to describe it in a way that would make me
even
so
less
confused.
Sense. Even less sense. Somebody understood it out there. I promise.
Great. Good. Well, let's see here. Anything interesting happening the past couple days?
I burnt my hand trying to get through one of those pizzas in the oven.
Yeah.
I was pulling it out and
just going barehanded. just bare hand pizza grabbing out of the oven.
Not quite. I had one of those little. What are they called? I don't know. I have like the mitten things, but they're not mittens. They're just little. They look like little napkins.
Yeah, right.
And it didn't cover the surface. Yeah, it didn't fully cover my hand. So when I went for it, it got me between my thumb and index finger. So that kind of hurt.
I gotta say, hey, look, it's time for us to really talk about the important stuff in life. And oven mitts, this is where we hit our pinnacle of subject matter. This is one thing that I've not talked about on the show, my love of oven mitts. I think they're such a great way to express one's own personality and creativity, and they protect you from pizza disasters. I just want to brag because I have an oven mitt, one of them, which is a cactus. It's very cute. Then I have another oven mitt that is a fish, a salmon arm, if you will.
Oh,
yeah.
Very appropriate.
I know. We'll get more about that later. But anyways, well, that's very exciting. Sorry about your burned arm. Someday you'll have a...
it's not my arm.
You'll have a robot assistant. A flippy arm can take the pizza out of the oven for you.
Yeah, you know what's weird too is as soon as you burn something, it wasn't that bad. There's, you can obviously see a skin little kind of lesion type of thing there. Mm-hmm. But you're supposed to put ice or something cold on it, sure, which I did immediately, and it felt fine. And after a while I was like, oh, maybe the pain is gone, so I take the ice pack away, and then just the burn starts to get in there. So I was like, okay, put the ice pack on. But after a few hours I was like, I can't sleep with the ice pack in my hand, so I'm gonna see how painful it really is. And I went for it. I took it off, and those first few minutes, just my hand realizing that it was burnt, excruciating. But I was like,
and it faded.
It faded eventually.
Your brain started releasing your natural pain-killing chemicals.
Yeah. I think the wife put some Neosporin on there and whatnot.
That's a pretty severe burn. I mean,
it's okay. It's
for it to keep hurting like that.
Yeah, it only lasted for a few minutes, and then. Yeah, I mean, it still hurts if I hit it, but it's I had to go into my samurai, my mindset, just my overcoming the physical mindset.
Your samurai training. Oh, that's funny.
Okay.
Well, nothing that exciting has happened for me. I did watch. I watched Songbird finally.
Excellent.
Yeah.
What is that? I don't even know what that is.
That was the quarantine movie, the COVID 23.
The COVID 23. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know whether to save it or not, but I will say you could tell it was like one of the first movies they were trying to figure out how to make while everybody in lockdown. It was okay. No, the trailers are much more exciting. It was okay, but. On being on this side of lockdown, the whole, and you know what? I don't think I'm going to give away any spoilers, but I don't know. I don't think anybody
it's not that much of
it. Well, I care.
All right. Nobody. I don't think anybody else cares.
Well, that's very assumptive of you, guys.
Well, I don't care.
Other people have perspectives that are not your own. But yes, okay, you do not care. That's okay. But I don't think there is any spoilers. But the point of the movie is all about vaccine passports. The entire storyline revolves around vaccine passports. And this was back before, I don't know when exactly it came out, but this was like during quarantine, the official lockdowns that this came out. So a lot of predictive programming there. And I want to save the rest of the conversation about that for our Waccine segment, because there's a lot to do about a lot there. But anyways, I did it. I also caught up. I watched the South Park vaccine special. Yeah, I just spent some time catching up on all these relevant things. But I don't know. Not much to talk about there. I guess the big news in my life is I watched some TV.
Good job.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yep.
I do want to give everybody a quick reminder as we move into the actual show here. Go ahead and if you're watching in a place that allows you to, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe, notifications,
Like, subscribe, bell button, all. Like, subscribe, bell button, all.
Yeah, and if you got a second, also take a second to share the show out to your social media. Let's see if we can wake some people up during the show here.
Oh yeah, I was supposed to do my Facebook sharing. I didn't do it. Let me try to do it now.
You didn't share it. Yeah, don't forget all of those social medias. But while we do that, Gons, I'll go ahead and get started on the Flippy update.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Okay, folks, if you're new to the show, Flippy is the colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a way to explore all the new, fun, and exciting ways that robots and AI are taking over the world, and how there's nothing we can do about it. Today, coming from geekygadgets.com. Geeky Gadgets. The headline is Boston Dynamics unveils stretch robot arm. Okay, so we got an official Flippy update here. We're talking about a robot arm, but not just any robot arm, a giant robot arm.
Yeah.
It goes like this. Robot design and manufacturing company Boston Dynamics has this week unveiled their new stretch robot, designed to offer a mobile robot capable of autonomously moving boxes around a warehouse. The combination of strength and speed in the stretch's arm is something we haven't seen before in a mobile robot. And it's what makes this a unique and potentially exciting entry into the warehouse robotics space, says Boston Dynamics. Check out the demonstration video below for an introduction to the new stretch robot, which features a 7 DOF arm capable of lifting up to 23 kilograms and moving up to 800 boxes an hour. Dun, dun, dun. So while that video is playing there, for those who are just listening, it's Boston Dynamics, they've become pretty adept at making entertaining sort of corporate style videos of robots. This is a giant flippy arm in sort of the classical sense, but it's on a mobile base, so it wheels around 360 degrees of motion there. But it's gigantic. I mean, it's probably all stretched out. I don't know, something like 10 feet. So it's this pretty imposing thing. Now, here's a quote. Stretch is built with pieces from Spot and Atlas, and that gave us a big head start. For example, if you look at Stretch's vision system, it's 2D cameras, depth sensors, and software that allows it to do obstacle detection, box detection, and localization. Those are all the same sensors and software that we've been using for years on our legged robots. And if you look closely at Stretch's wrist joints, they're actually the same as Spot's hips. They use the same electric motors, the same gearboxes, the same sensors, and they even have the same closed loop controller controlling the joints. So the big point about that is, usually with these robotics, and especially with Boston Dynamics, all these robots are highly specialized pieces of machinery that don't necessarily have interchangeable parts or not already mass manufactured parts. But basically, they built this robot out of all the pieces of other robots they've built, which is going to keep the costs down. It's really Boston Dynamics's one and only commercially viable robot in sort of a true capitalist sense. Of course, we all want the Spot robot dog, but this one can actually get put to work, which is a new thing for Boston Dynamics. And I don't know, the thing's pretty impressive, Gons. It's got one of the big things is, of course, we've had robotic arms working in factories and warehouses for a while, but the fact that this thing is so mobile and so smooth and doesn't need to be connected to wires or on a stationary base makes this a really impressive piece of machinery, but also is one of the first true sort of threats to there were human warehouse work, where, of course, warehouses have been using autonomous robots for a few years now. They're more or less incapable of doing complex tasks. But this, what do they call it? Stretch the robot arm does come as a little bit of a disruption to the human presence in warehouses. They do call it stretch, which would make you think that it could do some sort of stretching maneuver. I don't see any stretching maneuver. It's just a regular robot arm, but maybe
That's a stretch.
Stretching our patience. Look at us. We're good. So anything to say about stretch here, Gons?
I'm most impressed with the suction capability this thing has.
Yes.
Picking up boxes.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest differences between this and a classic flippy robot, which will have a clamp or a hand type of thing. This uses like 12 little suction cups to pick things up. Yeah,
and that's troubling too if it wants to pick up humans. You know, it can just lay you on the ground and just really get into you and pick you up. That's the one thing I just picture with machines like this is eventually they're going to start picking people up.
Yeah,
like one big suction for your head.
With all the the coronavirus casualties, they gotta employ the robots to move the heaps of bodies that they kept talking about.
Yeah, and they always do the. They always do the choreographed dance moves in these videos, these promo vids. Mm-hmm. And they do it on this one too, where the suction cups are facing each other and they're doing kind of a wobble back and forth. Mm-hmm. And that's how you sell robots nowadays. You got to have them do TikTok dances. Is that what this is? Yeah. Well, anyway. So I wanted to use that first of all, a wonderful, straightforward, action-packed, info-ready Flippy update. But I want to combine it with something that one of our producers sent us here. Do you remember the producer that sent us this? Yeah, I can pull it up real quick here. I think it was producer Donna, I want to say. Yeah, producer Donna, yeah. Producer Donna sent us this story. Now, here's the thing, folks. I'm so surprised, especially if you've been listening for a year or more to Canary Cry News Talk, or if you've been tuned in since the early Canary Cry radio days. You know, we've played around. We've mentioned, my enthusiasm for time travel and the experiments that I've been participating in, and I'm surprised, Gons, with how often we call shots and how often we're getting things right over the years. That we're not like officially getting called time travel. I mean, it's obvious that we're from the future. And this is one of those stories. This is regarding let's see. You got the news story? You want to just play some of the video, or what do you think? Yeah, we can. It's a little long, but yeah, I don't think we should play the whole thing, but maybe a little opening segment or something. Okay, here we go.
Hi there. We're talking about the office of the future. In the beginning of all this, video chats, they brought us all together. We hop on a Zoom, we hop on a Skype, we meet with our coworkers at a safe distance. Very cool, very helpful. But now, let's be honest, we're getting video chat fatigue. I'm sick of seeing those little boxes up there. What if you could be in the same room as your coworkers, interacting with them, pointing at things that they can see, showing them videos, having meetings with them, all from the comfort and safety of your couch, but you feel like you're together? You can with this wild technology that may be coming to your office soon. Wild technology. Yeah. So basically, Spatial is a tech company that creates virtual worlds for companies to use for work. Using virtual reality, you and your coworkers can meet at any time in same virtual room. Think of it this way. They say your room is in your computer monitor and your hands are on the mouse. I think this was written either by an AI or some, an English as a second language thing.
But there you go. Spatial is officially releasing the official virtual reality offices, and they are already being used by major corporations across the world. And I wanted to use this to wrap up an exploration that we've been doing on virtual reality for many years, even before, the idea of everybody working from home was a common one. And this is with the desire for human beings to never have to leave their house. They're easier to control. No need to get up and go to an office, much less a warehouse at this point. And it's, it's part of the reason why I do this podcast in virtual reality. It's sort of a statement, an exploration, maybe an art piece for those who are creatively minded, exploring the future of human work. And now it's a reality. And it's interesting to pair it with the FLIPPY update because, of course, in the beginning of computers coming out, computers were specifically, there's sort of an office thing. It was there to help you calculate numbers. It was there, to help you complete sort of mind business in the office. Not necessarily helpful, if you have a stack of boxes that need to move from one place to another. But now, with the advent of virtual reality, the worldwide pandemic, which has trained everybody that not just every person, but all the companies, that people can work from their home. We have, as this guy said, the Zoom fatigue, where, if anybody has to get on one more Zoom call, they're going to completely lose their minds. And thus enters the VR workspace, where you don't even have to leave your couch, and you'll be in a little video game with all of your coworkers. Now, it's interesting to watch how the switch has gone, where once the idea was, physical work, warehouses, things like that. You might have computers to do your office work, those soft-handed office workers, but you always you're going to need people to work in warehouses. Well, it's completely switched around now. Now the warehouses, thanks to Stretch the robot, will be completely staffed by perfectly capable robots, and now the office work will be done at home by human beings. Major companies included Pfizer and Ford. Pfizer and Ford are already using this technology. Mattel is using it to develop toys. They can even bring up 3D models, blah, blah, blah. So I did think it was also interesting. Pfizer, so closely related to the pandemic and the lockdown specifically, has been one of the first companies to get on this VR office thing.
Yeah, we have a Pfizer clip coming up from 2009 a little bit later that might be interesting. But this is obviously not too surprising, and based on... No,
that's the fun part. We've been calling this for at least as long as News Talk, so 3 years, 4 years.
Yeah, which I guess wasn't that... Yeah, most people that look into this stuff kind of had a feeling with what this is going to do, or this type of technology is going to do. I still think it's interesting how the visuals and the avatars aren't great.
No, they're awful.
They're like disembodied torsos with your head or whatever. And I really think that different types of avatars are going to become a norm. You're gonna go into a meeting and hey, look at this dinosaur guy. Who's this dinosaur guy?
That's unprofessional, Gons.
Oh, sorry.
If you can't use emojis in a work email, you can't show up to your virtual office.
Well, depends on the industry.
Your cat person avatar. The avatars are interesting too, because it's not quite akin to deep fake technology, but it's got that feel where they do take a photo of you and recreate it onto your official avatar. No legs, you're just sort of a floating torso.
Yeah. So anyway, that's interesting, and we've been on it for a while, and
the robots will rule the world, Gons.
A lot of it has to do with the affordability of the VR headsets. That's part of it. But like iPhones or smartphones did in the late 2000s, the zeros into the 2010s, I feel like this decade, by the end of it, everyone's gonna have to have VR headsets in their home, or you don't have to, but if you're gonna do business, you're gonna want.
I think so.
Want it.
Well, all these companies completely let go of their office building leases and sold their office buildings.
I know.
If you're talking about the trend of business where you're constantly trying to figure out how you can save money to increase profits for your stakeholders, getting rid of the overhead of an office building, that's a one-way ticket to money bags, baby.
Yeah, office buildings and travel, two of the most spent things in businesses. And they're like, well, pandy, no more of that. Let's save money.
Pandy.
Yeah, I've been saying that a lot. I said it the other day to someone that wouldn't know what that is. And I was like, this pandy.
Yeah.
And they're like, what are you talking about? A panda?
That's gonna get you
the pandemic. And
complaint to the HR department.
Yeah, someone's gonna snitch on me. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
All right. Well, are you done with the VR rant there?
I'm done.
Okay. Well, we have a quick update from the Epstein, depending on your timeline.
Epstein didn't kill himself.
This is New York Times. Ghislaine Maxwell charged with sex trafficking of 14-year-old girl. A new indictment.
She actually got charged.
Yeah, a new indictment accuses Miss Maxwell of paying a victim of her longtime associate Jeffrey Epstein. And it says here, Ghislaine Maxwell, longtime associate of Jeffrey Epstein, was charged on Monday for the first time with sex trafficking of a minor, as federal prosecutors accused her of grooming a 14-year-old girl to engage in sexual acts with Mr. Epstein and later paying her. A new federal indictment filed in Manhattan charged that on multiple occasions between 2001 and 2004, the girl provided nude massages to Mr. Epstein at his Palm Beach, Florida estate, during which he engaged in sex acts with her. The new charges against Miss Maxwell go further than those contained in an earlier indictment that accused her of helping Mr. Epstein recruit, groom, and ultimately sexually abuse girls, but did not include sex trafficking allegations. The new indictment says that after the girl provided Mr. Epstein with the massages, Miss Maxwell or others who worked for him paid the girls hundreds of dollars in cash. A lawyer for Miss Maxwell did not respond to a request for comment on the new charges. The indictment comes almost 9 months after Miss Maxwell, 59, once a fixture of New York's social scene, was arrested in New Hampshire on charges she had lured underage girls, one as young as 14, into Mr. Epstein's orbit and contributed to his abuse of them. An indictment issued on Monday cites an additional 14-year-old girl who is identified only as minor victim 4. And
so this is a new indictment.
It's a new indictment, and it actually hits Maxwell with sex trafficking of a minor specifically.
Right.
So
which
this
she was
is
sort of able to weasel out of.
Yeah, but if the victims are coming out, or at least they have ample evidence, they can go after her, and here we are. And I think the if she is in prison, we don't have like definitive public proof, but if she is actually being held in the horrible conditions that her lawyers and stuff are arguing about, keep an eye on her, because she can go the way of Jeffrey and just
yeah, I mean, I'm
take
surprised.
herself out.
I'm surprised that she's still trucking. I mean, I guess they learned their lesson the first time with Epstein.
Supposedly, yeah. Or maybe they just need enough time to find a body double to get her out, and then get the one that's going to suicide herself in there.
Yeah, famously, she's one of those in-between sizes, so it's difficult to find.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's
okay. Well, good. I'm glad that that's moving forward. Of course, it's always sad to hear these new victims, but of course, we were not so naive to think that there wouldn't be more.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty obvious. It almost feels like, wait, I thought everybody knew, but I suppose until there are actual indictments that come down, the majority of the public are going to just dismiss it as conspiracy theory or whatever.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Now, there you go. Well, it's more complicated than just, oh, we got her. Okay, she's away now. This is an ongoing legal thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I got something fun for us to go into, Gons.
It's got to be biblical.
That's right. Popularmechanics.com. Headline: An alien world might be hiding inside Earth, study says.
Aliens.
That's right. They're coming out with it. This is disclosure for Hollow Earth, baby. It's all true. We've known it forever. Well, let's see what they have to say. In new research, scientists speculate that Earth was formed by a Mars-sized rogue planet known as Theia, with identifiable bits of alien planets still found in Earth's interior. Scientists believe the same fateful impact also formed the moon, but this is the first time they've studied the specific traces of the clash that remain behind in the Earth's mantle. In 2016, UCLA researchers proposed that Earth could actually be two planets that fused together after colliding, itself and Theia. At the time, scientists said they believed the two planetary masses mixed together uniformly. Now, Quinn Yuan of Arizona State University and his colleagues suggest the mysterious dense spots in the Earth's interior are the specific pieces of Theia that are still intact. Yuan's team presented a paper earlier this month at the 52nd Lunar and Planetary Science Conference. In it, they explain, quote, "Here, we demonstrate that Theia's mantle may be several percent intrinsically denser than the Earth's mantle, which enables the Theia mantle materials to sink to the Earth's lowermost mantle and accumulate into thermochemical piles that may cause the seismically observed dense areas. These dense areas are continent-sized, large, low shear velocity provinces, or LLSVPs." Whew, that's some real geology speak for you. The Arizona State scientists identified specific portions of Earth's interior and modeled the process by which these portions could have struck early Earth and sunk into its center. Quote, "We define successful models in which the Theia mantle materials sink into the lowermost mantle and form into spatially isolated thermochemical piles that occupy 3 to 15% area of the 2D model domain, similar to the present-day LLSVPs, which occupy 3 to 9% volume of the Earth's mantle." In an interview with Vice, Yuan talked about getting a bolt of inspiration after chatting with a colleague about LLSVPs. Quote, "When I got back to my office," Yuan said, "I just did a very easy calculation where I compared the size of the LLSVPs to the mantle of Mars, because Theia was believed to be very similar to Mars. The total mass of the moon together with the LLSVPs is almost perfectly matched to Mars's mantle. How have the dense Theia materials stayed intact for billions of years? It's a function of the way Earth's mantle works, where convection circulates materials that are a certain temperature and density. The Theia materials are so dense that they sank and never floated back into the convection zone. Think of this like the stuff that accumulates in a sharp corner that's hard to reach with a vacuum cleaner. And what does it mean for these materials to stay deep inside the Earth? The continent-size areas are the largest portions of Earth's interior. So understanding how they formed and how they persist could help push Earth science forward. These two huge portions are located under West Africa and the Pacific Ocean and are hundreds of miles thick. There could also be interesting parallels to unearth, so to speak, between these dense mantle portions and the moon because of their potentially shared origin story. How often can you compare one 4.5 billion year old rock sample that's orbited in space and another that's sunk into the center of the Earth? It's a scientific method dream come true. Dun dun dun. So did you catch all that, Gons?
I think so.
Yeah,
I
so
noticed,
basically...
I noticed the Arizona State person there, Arizona State being the Sun Devils. So we're going to believe a Sun Devil? Is that what we're doing?
So yes, we're believing the Sun Devils about Theia smashing into Earth. Mm-hmm. Now, just to put it in simple terms, because there's a lot of long, big words and long language. Yeah. Basically, what they think happened is back in the day, two planets about the size of Mars smashed into each other, and that created the Earth and the Moon. They got this because there are sections inside the Earth that are more dense when they take scans and seismology and things like that of the Earth. There's these strange little dense parts that they couldn't explain, and I guess this guy just did the math. He took the size and density of those weird spots inside the Earth, combined it with the moon, and I guess that, in his thinking, almost perfectly equals the size of Mars. So there you go, Gons. Another theory into the creation of the Earth. In this case, it's got a lot of interesting sort of esoteric flair to it. You've got these two planets, sort of like a mother Gaia and a father Theia, smashing into each other and
not
creating
quite
life.
Close, but not quite. Let me get into some of this stuff. Theia, or Orpheus, is a hypothesized ancient planet in the early solar system that, according to the giant impact hypothesis, collided with the Earth around 4.5 billion years ago. This is not a new theory. It's just interesting that some guy at Arizona State University did the math and was like, hey, it fits this theory. And I think there's a mythology behind it here. Oh, here it is. Theia was named after the Titaness Theia. So female Titan.
Titaness. Oh, interesting.
Who in Greek mythology was the mother of Selene, the goddess of the moon, which parallels the planet Theia's collision with the early Earth that is theorized to have created the moon. In modern Greek, it has the same origin word, aunt or uncle, also meaning divine. And I think there was a section here. Yeah, there's like the theory of how this whole thing happened. Where did it go? I thought I had a section where it talked about Theia was like the child of Gaia and Uranus. So the theory goes that Gaia and Uranus had a child, and it was Theia. So, but this whole idea, I know there's skepticism about our cosmology and the shape and all that kind of stuff. But I do want to remind folks that there is a narrative in the Bible that alludes to some kind of celestial ancient civilization that gets destroyed. And let me tell you about it. First off, if you haven't heard about it, it's pretty interesting to look at. If you go to Psalm 89:10, in the ESV, it says, "You crushed Rahab like a carcass. You scattered your enemies with your mighty arm." Rahab, as David Flynn has theorized, was some kind of ancient civilization. He says planet. I don't know if it was a planet, but definitely an ancient civilization that was destroyed by Yahweh. And the theory is fascinating. Let me just keep going here, because in Isaiah 30 verse 7, let's see, Egypt's help is worthless and empty. Therefore, I have called her Rahab, who sits still. And Isaiah 51:9. This one's kind of the bigger one here. Awake, awake, put on strength, O arm of the Lord. Awake as in days of old, the generations of long ago. Was it not you who cut Rahab in pieces, who pierced the dragon? So, there's a clip that I didn't actually make clips of it for the show, but it's an old Ancient of Days conference. I think it was like 2005, 2006 maybe. And it's got Jim Wilhelmsen, David Flynn, the late David Flynn, and our friend Dr. Michael Heiser on a panel. And they're discussing this idea of a pre-Adamic race of angelic beings, and was there some kind of quote-unquote planet that they might have occupied, and was that quote-unquote planet destroyed? And think about this, Basil. So Theia is supposed to be this ancient planet, right? And the narrative that David Flynn suggested was that and this is part of the Theia theory, is that there was another planet that was destroyed, and that destruction of the planet created the asteroid belt. You know, thinking that that used to be a planet. And also that it was brought down to Earth, and now the association with Leviathan, Rahab, this ancient planet, is Leviathan lives under the Earth now. So when you think about that, it's like this whole theory that they're presenting, you know, this ancient blah, 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 seems very interesting. And I found it fascinating that Dr. Michael Heiser, Mr. Scholarly Man, sat there and said, I can't dismiss the theory, the possibility, but he definitely agreed that the connotation or the connection to this idea of Rahab and Leviathan and this ancient destruction motif is there. It's there in the scriptures. Here's another one from Isaiah. Oh, hold on. This one, Isaiah 30. Oh, Job 26:12. In the ESV, by his power he stilled the sea, by his understanding he shattered Rahab. Rahab. And it's very similar to the Leviathan passages. Psalm 74:14. You crushed the heads of Leviathan. You gave him as food for the creatures of the wilderness. Interesting. Isaiah 27:1. In that day, with his hard and great and strong sword, will punish Leviathan, the fleeing serpent, Leviathan, the twisting serpent, and he will slay the dragon that is in the sea. So kind of a double thing where it's like, okay, he destroyed him, and now he's this like sea serpent. And of course, Revelation 13, the first beast, where does it come out of? It comes out of the sea, right? Multiple heads.
Okay. Yeah.
Job 41:31, he makes the deep boil, right? Boil like a pot. He makes the sea like a pot of ointment. Again, this is in reference to God's power shown in Leviathan. So, again, it's like this very interesting pattern. You know, some people might say, well, what about Rahab, the character from Jericho? You know, the one that helped Joshua and the two spies basically hide. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? The biblical story. It's a very famous story. That Rahab, you look at the Hebrew, not the same spelling. That Rahab is actually Rachab, R-A-C-H-A-B, the harlot in Jericho. Whereas the Rahab in the scriptures that we're referencing here is, let me get to it here through the lexicon and get in there to Rahab. It's the storm, a sea monster. To act stormily, boisterously, or arrogantly. And so I just find it interesting that there's this connection to, and who knows if it was like a planet or if it was just another civilization or whatever it is, but it seems to be consistent with this idea that there was an ancient civilization of some angelic type of entities that was destroyed by Yahweh and now exists under our feet, literally. Yeah. And, you know, because there's a lot to this, because even like Jesus walking on water and calming the storm and stuff like that, people are always like, oh, he's supernatural, man. He just like can control nature. but what's the messaging going on by walking on water and calming the storm and stuff like that? So there's a lot there, and trust me, you can go down this rabbit trail, and it's fascinating. I'm not saying that I have all the answers here, but given this story, it just seems like, hey, a guy from Arizona State University, there's a biblical narrative that supports the theory, and the whole Thea thesis in particular was something that hadn't been taken seriously amongst scientists until now. All of a sudden, just kind of weird.
Yeah,
just kind of strange. So yeah, as you said, it might be part of a disclosure, a larger disclosure thing where they're going to start, talking about some technologies that are pretty advanced, and where did it come from? Where do the ideas come from? And this could be a very convenient way to start saying, oh, there was this ancient civilization. And of course, the connection with Mars, the twin brother of Mars. And that's why we're trying to get to Mars, because we're going to discover some other things there or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, just thought I'd go on a little rant about that, because that's a rabbit trail that I've gone down many times. And when I saw the story, it wasn't just the idea of a hollow Earth, although that's obviously very interesting as well. And you can get into the Admiral Byrd and what he saw and what he was talking about in his journals and stuff like that, which of course also gets addressed or used as part of the flat Earth argument. So it's just one of those things, man. Very mysterious, but at the same time, not really. There's a lot of scripture that talks about it, and the connections to an ancient civilization, very much in the scriptures. So yeah, read your Bibles, folks.
Booyah! Read your Bibles, geologists.
Get with
very
it,
good. I think
geologists.
that was a very productive breakdown.
Oh, so hey, what does Joe Biden think about it?
It was really a productive segment, man.
All right, thanks, Joe.
That was a really productive segment, guys.
Thanks, Joe. I appreciate it, man.
Oh, that was a good ISO.
Yeah, we're gonna use that one.
Okay, well, should we get into some Waccine stuff?
Let's do it.
Oh, how the mighty have fallen, Gons. We get to continue to watch the excruciating tumble from grace by, so many of these politicians, governors specifically, that were, experimenting with how much they could control their states. And this is a story coming from TalkingPointsMemo.com, and the headline, "They were treated like royalty. New accounts detail priority COVID testing to Cuomo insiders." Dun, dun, dun. Of course, this comes as no surprise, but new details into the special access to COVID-19 testing provided to relatives of New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, Democrat, and others well-connected New Yorkers reveal that at least 100 people were prioritized during the first month of pandemic response efforts at an operations hub in New Rochelle, New York. The Washington Post reported. We've got a few stories that come from the Washington Post, and it's very interesting. Again, just looking at the meta-narrative of Washington Post, owned by Bezos, and during the pandemic, of course, a Democrat speaking tool into the public, but to see how things are kind of wobbling for them has been interesting, but more on that later. The Washington Post reported on Monday night that those with priority status got expedited results, waiting only hours compared to the delay of up to a week that other New Yorkers faced early on in the pandemic. In addition to Cuomo's brother, CNN anchor Chris Cuomo, among other members of the governor's family who received preferential treatment. The Post said that designer Kenneth Cole, the governor's brother-in-law, wow, I didn't know that. Kenneth Cole is Cuomo's brother-in-law. Had benefited.
There's a lot of family going on. It's a lot of nepotism at the top there.
That's right. That's Cuomo for you. State officials countered reports last week that suggested people were given special treatment because of their connections to Cuomo. A senior advisor to the governor, Rich Azzopardi, said in a statement that there was no such VIP program as the Post described. Quote, when priority was given, it was given to nurses, guardsmen, state workers, and other government officials central to the pandemic response, and those they were in direct contact with, as well as individuals believed to have been exposed to COVID who had the capability to spread it further and impact vital operations, as a party said. But 5 people, including 3 nurses, describing how cases were fast-tracked, told the Post that officials working at testing sites created a system that where staff could label certain samples as priorities, specials, inner circle, or criticals. The
inner circle? That's such a horrible, let's not be discreet at all. Let's just,
I know.
These are the inner circle.
Like, the Brotherhood.
The master class.
Yeah, right. The identities of those who were part of the system were shrouded in secrecy and held close by a top assistant to Howard Zucker, the state health commissioner. 2 people familiar with the practice told the Post. As a party said that any priority system, quote, was built by those in charge of running the sites, and the governor had no knowledge that tests were being prioritized at those sites. When asked about Cuomo family members receiving special treatment at testing centers, as a party said in an email to the Post, quote, to the extent this occurred, the governor was not aware.
The governor doesn't seem to be aware of anything going on.
No, he's not aware of that. He's not aware that he, sexually harassed all those women. He's not aware that he intentionally killed a bunch of elderly people. He's not aware of a lot, apparently. New York Department of Health spokesman Gary Holmes also said in a statement to the Post that the premise that New Yorkers got preferential treatment because of their connections to the governor is not factually accurate. Quote, from a public health perspective, where have you been and how many people might you have exposed are the questions that guided who was given priority, not who you know, Holmes said. In spite of those statements, one nurse told the Post she was dispatched from an operations center in New Rochelle to test patients in private residences and hotel rooms and was told that those individuals were part of Cuomo's orbit. Quote, we would always hear this is coming from the governor's chamber. What the heck does that mean? Said the nurse. This is coming from the governor's chamber. I don't want to come in contact with anything from Cuomo's chamber. Just gonna put that out there.
That is
Quote,
weird.
They were treated like royalty, the nurse said of Cuomo's family. I didn't understand why they were able to jump the line. And there you go. That's the end. This comes as a surprise to absolutely no one but another, the doggy pile on top of corrupt Governor Cuomo is
Digi-doggy pile on Digi-Cuomo.
Digi-doggy pile. Yes, the robot dogs just keep on jumping on the pile. So there you go. Not much to go into that. Kind of speaks for itself, but what do you think?
How someone in the chat was like, doesn't he have nip clips?
Yes, he does.
He does.
He has pierced nipples, which is fine. He's allowed to do
whatever
he wants
to do, but in a chamber, there's just a lot of weird sort of language being used.
Whatever happens in in Cuomo's chamber stays in Cuomo's chamber.
Apparently not. Because people are talking.
This guy, man, how is he still here? Is there some sort of a recall thing going around for Cuomo?
I don't remember. I thought there was, but
there has to be.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll do a little search.
Yeah, do a little search. In the meantime, we got more stuff here.
A pandemic special.
Robert Jeffress. Do you know who Robert Jeffress is?
Jeffress?
Yep, Robert.
Is that supposed to be Jeffries?
I think it's Jeffress.
Huh. Okay.
He's Robert James Jeffress Jr., an American Southern Baptist pastor and author and radio and television personality. Okay. He was on with Fox, and he was asked about the vaccines. Thank you for True News for clipping this. There's a couple flubs here. Let's take a listen.
Discourage anybody from taking the vaccines because we got to stop this pandemic. But there is concern among some Catholic bishops and some evangelicals as well that the cell lines that were used to develop certain vaccines, particularly Johnson & Johnson, came from aborted feces.
Yeah.
Came from aborted babies. Let's just say it out loud. So what exactly is your answer to that? I mean, there are people that don't want any connection there with abortion and vaccines.
Well, look, first of all, we would never abort babies to provide a vaccine. I think Francis Collins has denied that linkage, and he is a strong Christian himself. But, David, if we're talking about something from babies that were already aborted, I would just remind people the whole Christian message is that Christ, who was innocent, died for us and brought something good out of that unjust death. And I think if lives can be saved, even from the unrighteous killing of a baby, that there's something to be gained there. So I would not refuse the vaccine on that point alone.
Okay, so
bro,
Robert Jeffress compares the aborted baby
Feces,
the aborted feces, to Jesus.
Yeah, comparing the aborted
his
cell lines to make a vaccine, comparing it to Christ's crucifixion. They are really stretching for this, man.
Aborted feces.
Yes, and also
it's a good ISO.
Not
all those aborted feces in your vaccine.
Aborted feces.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Okay, first off, he mentions Dr. Francis Collins and appeals to authority there, like, he's denied the whole thing. Well, as you may know, our listeners would, Francis Collins is part of the Vatican, I don't remember the exact title, like Vatican Council of Scientists or something like that.
Yeah, it's like the Science Council or something.
Yeah, right? He's part of the Three Amigos. Him and Fauci and Bill
Three
Gates.
amigos of the pandemocalypse.
Yeah. So, people talk about the Christian right, conservatives, and how they're, trying to stand for the truth and all this. I have a problem with this, Basil. I have a pretty straightforward rejection of this, not just this analogy, but where he is appealing to authority to justify the vaccine coming from, an evangelical pathway to victory.
No, that's they are really stretching, really trying to, it's so funny is they're trying every which way to be able to theologically defend, the things that people have problems with the vaccine. And every time they do, they just make it worse.
This reminds me of how evangelicals in general defended slavery at the beginning of the the founding, using the Bible, using scripture. Very similar, I would say, in like kind of a wacky misappropriation of text to support a view that is obviously has some problems, has some moral problems and ethical problems, and even scientific problems, if we're completely honest and objective. So, I just, this is crazy, but of course we got the great ISO here.
Aborted feces.
Aborted feces. Anytime we talk about this, I know it's going to trigger people. And, the other thing I thought of, and I didn't go deep enough to really, because I've heard sort of a semi-debunk of this idea, but if you look at the Talmud has a section about how to torture, basically, like people that reject Judaism. And some people suggest that Yeshu, the name that's mentioned there, Yeshu, is reference to Jesus. And it talks about how Yeshu is in Hades, burning on a dunghill and that sort of thing. A dunghill, feces. I don't know. There's just a weird thing there, but, aborted feces.
Well, I've been I was looking for a Cuomo recall petition.
Oh, right.
There seems to be like a bunch of them over on change.org. But there doesn't, I'm not seeing like one highly effective centralized recall effort. There's like a dozen or so recall petitions on change.org. Some of them have as much as like 75,000 signatures.
Wow.
But it doesn't seem to be very organized.
Man, he's got something. He's got the shield.
Yeah, somebody is afraid of putting the money and effort into organizing all these people. So I don't know. If you're in New York and you're looking for a hobby, that might be it for you.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's see here. Let's check in on the CDC director.
CDC director had some interesting things to say here. Let me start the clip. This is what is this? CBS News. CDC director warns of impending doom amid COVID spike. And I'll start the clip here and end it at a appropriate spot. Here we go.
And we're going to turn now to the COVID pandemic and an impassioned plea tonight from the head of the CDC to not let down our guard. That's because with cases now spiking again in at least half the country, President Joe Biden today calling on governors to reimpose those mask mandates. Here's CBS's Mola Lenghi.
Tonight, fourth wave fears.
Fourth wave.
Reflect on the recurring feeling I have of impending doom.
As cases continue to rise nationwide, blunt words from the head of the CDC.
So much reason for hope, but right now I'm scared.
She's scared. And you know the worst part about this clip is in between the CDC director talking, they have like B-roll footage of like someone dying or something on a medical desk. Or just somebody, being operated on or something. It's like the most mind control propaganda piece ever.
Right.
Sorry, got all a little riled up there.
No, that's good. Is there more to the clip?
There is. I mean, we can go. Let's see.
So much reason for hope, but right now I'm scared. So speaking
dying
today,
person.
Not necessarily as your CDC director, but as a wife, as a mother, as a daughter, to ask you to just please hold on a little while longer.
Cases are up more than 10%, with hospitalizations on the rise, as life looks more like it did pre-pandemic in much of the country. 43 states have allowed most or all businesses to reopen, and 17 don't have mask mandates. This as much of Europe is seeing another spike, and doctors say Paris hospitals are about to hit catastrophic overload.
The trajectory of the pandemic in the United States looks similar to many other countries in Europe. I'm calling on our elected officials to sound the alarm. We must work together now to prevent a fourth surge.
New Jersey now seeing the nation's largest spike in cases per capita.
We have to keep up the fight and to push back against our pandemic fatigue.
And Florida seeing reported cases of the more contagious UK variant, more than doubling just in the past 4 days. But there is some good news tonight. A new CDC study of healthcare workers showing the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines are 90%
Oh, the vaccines are going to save us.
And 80% effective after just one.
Okay.
And at
if the vaccines are so effective, how are we having another surge?
No, don't ask questions.
Understand.
Don't ask questions. Just get the jab. Jab, 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 jab. Jab, 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 jab.
Yeah. See, this is the problem with the double speak and the mind control is, again, they're asking you to not believe what you see, just do what you're told.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the deal? How are we having a big old fourth wave when we've given out whatever it is, 100 million vaccines, over 100 million, and they've increased their goal to 200 million by like whenever, the end of the month or something. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Interesting. What is this woman's name? I forgot her name.
I keep forgetting. Let me try to find it here. Walensky.
Walensky. Okay, it's not. The former head of the CDC was Robert Redfield, and did you hear recently he was coming out and basically saying, "Well, I'm not the head of the CDC anymore, so I can just say what I think. I'm pretty sure this came from a lab in Wuhan."
Yeah, I saw that.
It's totally going against the official, quote unquote official stories.
Yeah,
he's like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm a free man, so let me tell you, this definitely came from a lab, and it's crazy for anybody to say otherwise."
Well, it's fascinating.
I'm allowed to say that. You can't get me.
It's interesting because in the clip here, it talked about, like the surge and all the 17 states without a mask mandate. Where's the data? It's hard to nail down the data because a couple days ago from Newsweek, Texas COVID cases dropped to record low nearly 3 weeks after mask mandate lifted. So why are we getting contradictory information from the news sources here?
Yeah. Well, that was 2 days ago, that Newsweek thing.
Oh, it must be out of date. CDC must have pumped up the...
In the past 2 days, it's totally reversed. Yeah, and of course, Texas being one of the first to open up, one of the first to reject the mask mandate. Not the first, but one of the first. Here's a quote here. Today, the 7-day COVID positivity rate dropped to a new record low, just under 5%. Hospitalizations dropped to a 6-month low. This week, we have 1 million first vaccines available. Texas Governor Greg Abbott wrote in a tweet on Sunday, "Everyone now qualifies for a shot. They are highly recommended to prevent getting COVID, but always voluntary." Yeah. You know what? They know how to do it over there in
Do they?
Yes. Yes, they do.
I'm just jealous, okay? I'm in California. I got crazy Newsom.
Complete opposite situation.
Please put on 17 masks. Get 5 shots if you have to. Double up on the jabs.
Yeah.
I'm going to get canceled.
Yeah. Well,
you can't cancel me.
Fourth wave. It's mysteriously resistant to the jab.
How long do you think they can get this going? Let's place a bet. Are we going to get to Are we going to get to the point where they're talking about if we don't lock down, we're going to see the 17th wave, 18th wave?
I was thinking about that. I think anything after a 5th wave sounds ridiculous. I mean, you're stretching it with a 5th wave, but if you get to it's a 6th wave, it's not a wave anymore. It's just the tide is rolling in.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it'll stop after this 4th wave in one way or another.
Well, if they get their way, it's a race against time to get out the passports out there. Speaking of which, we have a...
Wait. Which story are you going to?
I'm going to QAnon.
Let's talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene here.
Cue the miserable, cue the desperate. What must I do to convince you people? You're right, Q.
What must I do? What must I do? Coming from rawstory.com. What is this? Rawstory.com.
You never heard of Raw Story? It's a pretty well-known publication.
Really? No, I don't recall it at all. The headline here, QAnon Congresswoman says vaccine passports may cause apocalyptic end times. I can already tell that she probably didn't say that. That passports would cause apocalyptic end times?
No. I mean, it's very... What she said is not... we'll get to it. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's get into it. Republicans are panicking over the concept of vaccine passports as polls revealed their base is the most misinformed population on the safety of COVID-19
Republicans
vaccines.
Are just misinformed.
You know what's so funny, too? They have this picture of Marjorie Taylor Greene up at the top.
Holding a gun.
Holding an AR-15 with a big scope on it. And it's like, obviously, you can tell by this first sentence, they put that up there because they're, wanted to scare liberals. Look at this crazy lady holding a gun. But any conservative who sees this is like, well, this is my kind of woman. Okay, cool. Quote, authoritarian leftists want a Chinese-styled social credit system here in America. Yeah, nothing crazy there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we've been talking about that for years. Vaccine passports via the government or private sector would create a two-tiered caste system. That's exactly right. Donald Trump Jr. tweeted on Monday, every elected GOP office holder worth a dang should publicly oppose this un-American concept immediately, he demanded. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, the controversial QAnon cultist who cited...
Wow.
Raw story. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the controversial QAnon cultist who sided with the Capitol insurrectionists by voting to overturn the 2020 election, answered the call. Quote, they're actually talking about people's ability to buy and sell linked to the vaccine passport. They might as well call it Biden's Mark of the Beast, Greene tweeted, referring to apocalypse in the book of Revelation. And that's it. That's the end of the story, I think.
That's the tweet right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it shows, I mean, of course, this is just a laughably uninformed leftist creation of an article here, because the Mark of the Beast doesn't cause the apocalypse. It's just a part of the apocalypse. Come on, read your Bibles.
And
story.
she said they might as well call it Biden's Mark of the Beast, not because it is the prophesied Mark of the Beast, but because it has version. Similar, yeah. So it's actually a lot more level-headed than even, some of the stuff we hear from people that would run in our circles, So it's a lot more tame, but of course. Headline, QAnon Congresswoman says vaccine passport may cause apocalyptic end time.
I didn't send this. Okay, I had a different article, but it's okay. I can just wrap it up real quick or summarize it.
Yeah.
Regarding their characterization of the insurrectionists on January 6th, how Marjorie Taylor Greene took the side of the insurrectionists. There's been all these stories recently about how, there's something like 260-ish people arrested and are being tried in connection with January 6th. And they're finding it really difficult to put anybody in jail. Because most of the people they arrested just sort of like walked in to the building and looked around and left.
Yeah.
So there's this whole sort of breakdown of the legal system, because you have these prosecutors who are trying to characterize these people as like government toppling rebels and insurrectionists, and all the evidence just shows these people just kind of walking around, meandering, not really doing anything. And so some crazy high number of these people who are arrested and are being tried, they're getting misdemeanors for trespassing, which carries basically no jail time, and they're just kind of having to let these people go, which is really frustrating. Not just the prosecutors, but the entire left mob that wanted these people to get the capital punishment or whatever.
Yeah. Well,
because,
that's reality.
Traditionally carries a capital punishment or whatever. But it's just really funny to watch. And they're not even able to call it an insurrection legally. So this insurrection storyline is basically just a, rawstory.com.
Propaganda. By the way, Raw Story, according to the top news outlets in the world, ranks 42nd ahead of the Seattle Times and Toronto Star. They have 1.2 million Facebook fans and almost 250,000 Twitter followers. So that's why I'm like, where have you been, bro?
I have not heard of them. I don't think we've ever read a Raw Story on the show.
I think we have, and I think you've made fun of Raw Story before.
It is easy to make fun of. Sorry, I won't make fun of your favorite news outlet anymore, Gons. You heard it here, folks. Raw Story, Gons' favorite news outlet.
Yeah, you heard it here. Basil coming up with stuff, putting words in my mouth. I never said those words.
Gons.
I just think you like saying it because it appeals to your dinosaur DNA.
It's a
or
ridiculous name for a news outlet, and it's okay. I won't make fun of it anymore. You love it so much, you want to kiss it on the mouth.
You know what's funny? They this is their self-described, kind of about. Raw Story is an independent news site that focuses on stories often ignored in the mainstream. That's their angle.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, moving on here. Yes, the whole vaccine passport thing is an issue. I wanted to just include this real quick because it speaks to the sentiment of some of the people that are pro-vaccine passport. And I haven't seen a whole lot of them because it seems like most people are like, hey, this is ridiculous. This is some lady on Twitter. She did get quite a bit of likes and stuff like that. But this person said, those worried about vaccine passports are obviously too young to have had to travel with one of these. And it's got a picture of an old vaccine certificate. This is not a new idea, folks. If you think protecting the health of the community is tyranny, you're not a righteous defender of liberty. You're a selfish jerk.
Okay.
And it's got this thing. But here's the thing, it's stamped 1969, 1970, 71.
I had one of these in 2017.
That's what I'm saying. You traveled to, where was it, Africa or something like that? You had to get a couple jabs. And, those are like well-established vaccines. And even, what is it, Robert Kennedy Jr., his whole thing is about safety, right? He's not like anti-vax. He's like, no, I want safe and just scientifically viable type of things, not just emergency act.
I mean, it goes down to the fact that this is an experimental vaccine not approved by the FDA. And you can't force people to get it. And the point being, okay, yes, we know that there have been international certificates of vaccination to get into different countries and stuff like that. For example, this one here, for cholera. But it's one thing to travel to a different country. Right. It's another thing to go see a movie. Yeah, and you have to go to the grocery store. Go to the grocery store you got to show your thing. That's an entirely different thing. And that's what people are like, hey, this is a little bit of an overreach. Most people, most Americans who have their head on straight, I don't care if you're a liberal or a conservative, Republican, Democrat, it doesn't even matter. Most people seem to understand that if you need to show a vaccine certificate to walk into Walmart, there's a problem. But anyway. Exactly. Yeah. The sentiment is ridiculous. I don't know. This person is just... you're a selfish jerk, Basil. That's what you are if you're against this. Well, okay. Now, before we move on from the whole vaccine passport thing, I'm going to spoil Songbird for everybody. Okay. So get ready. And I think it's interesting. I'm kind of glad that I waited to watch it. Except for I had to rent it. I had to pay money for it. And it's not a great movie. You paid so if you're looking for a good movie experience, this is not necessarily it. But I was doing it for you people. For you people. Wow, so Cuomo-ish. Yeah, see, it's just the tone changes things. But so basically the entire concept of the movie revolves around COVID-23. It's, we're a few years down the line. There's people who are immune and everybody else. Very few people are immune, and they get immunity passes. These little yellow wristbands that, you can kind of scan digitally, has all your information. There's a bunch of fun things like, the Department of Sanitation. If they hear that you're sick, you got to scan in every morning with an app. You scan your face with an app every morning, and if it senses a fever, you come get taken away and sent to Q zones. Which are these slums, of quarantine things. But I just loved how it was Q zones. long story short, the entire story is about this guy who's immune. He's in love with this girl, but she's stuck inside. And he wants to get an immunity bracelet for her so they can run away together and go out and go to Big Sur. Long story short, the immunity passports, they are being there's like a black market trade for them, and everybody, they charge hundreds of thousands of dollars, get your fake immunity pass thing. And they're basically, long story short, he goes through all this trouble, gets her an immunity bracelet, and tries to escape with her. And then it just turns out that she was immune the whole time. And like nothing needed, they didn't need, the whole movie was pointless. She was immune the whole time. She just didn't know it. And I thought it was a very interesting sort of, way to look at the immunity situation, our vaccination situation. We're all going to want these vaccination passports, or you'll be immune or whatever. But turns out, if you have an immune system, you're probably going to be okay and don't need to steal an immunity passport. That's it. And it was great predictive programming, I think, especially because the concern about forged vaccination documents has risen to a fever pitch recently. I saw you did a tweet about the story where you can go on the dark web and pay $250 for a forged immunity forged immunity document. It was like, anybody with a printer can print off the vaccination slip. You don't need to pay somebody $250 on the dark web for it. Yeah. Wasn't it Nazi Germany where they came door to door and they're like, let's see your papers, basically. It's kind of the same deal. It wasn't even door to door. It was anything. Any Nazi could ask you for your papers at any moment, and you had to produce them. And if you didn't have it, or if you had insufficient paperwork, you'd get hauled off to the Q zone. And I don't know if you noticed, Basil, but this movie was written and directed by Adam Mason. A Mason came up with this movie. Of course. Maybe why it's not that good. Also, gross revenue so far, 339,100. Yeah, it's not very good in terms of. No, it's not. 30 million. I'm assuming. Third of a million. 339,100. Really? Nobody watched this except people like us who were like outraged about it. That's crazy. But it almost seems like they knew the target audience was gonna be the fringy skeptics to latch onto, because they're not gonna get regular people to get all stoked about a movie like this. Yeah. I thought that more people were stoked on it. No. And then I was talking to some regular people I know. I'm like, oh, I'm going to watch Songbird. They're like, what? Songbird, the movie about quarantine and COVID in 2023. They're like, is that a sequel to Birdcage, that the gay Robert Williams, or what's going on here? Bird Box. It's like Bird Box. Yeah. Did you ever watch Bird Box? No, I don't know what that is. Okay. What is it? It sounds like a package we talked about it before. It was the Sandy Bullock right. Okay. There's monsters and they got to wear blindfolds. Excellent. Also, very good metaphor for, how we're being told to live our lives with blindfolds on. Yeah. Because the scary monsters. Yeah. Okay, there you go. Don't watch Songbird. Not worth it. Not worth it. Not worth the $5. A couple more stars. You contributed to the 339,100. No, I can't believe it's that low. That is insane. I mean, just any movie that only makes a third of $1 million. I wonder how much it costs to make it. Probably not a lot. You know, you could tell they were making it during quarantine because there's no more than 2 people, you know, in a shot at any one time. So they were having to social distance. You know, it was pretty obvious that it was not a blockbuster hit. On
IMDb, it's down 270 spots. Popularity 670. So, yeah.
That's higher than I would have expected. Oh, so close to 666.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, maybe it's on its way there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
right.
What's next? Couple more things here.
A pandemic special.
This is Canada.ca. This is the Canadian website here. NACI Rapid Response. Recommended use of AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine in younger adults. NACI recommends that AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine should not be used in adults under 55 years of age at this time.
Oh, interesting.
So they've been going kind of back and forth on the whole deal. Now they're saying nobody under 55 should get it.
Why is that?
Do we really want to get into the rationale?
Well, I'm curious. Are they saying it causes... If they're saying it causes blood clots, that was the first reason. Yeah, rare cases of serious blood clots, including cerebral venous sinus thrombosis associated with thrombocytopenia, have been recently reported in Europe following post-licensure use of AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. Cases identified so far have been primarily in women under age of 55, although cases in men have also been reported and have mostly occurred between 4 and 16 days after receipt of vaccine. Yeah. Were you saying so anybody under 55 should get it?
Should not get it. So people only over 55 can get the AstraZeneca. They're trying to kill all the old people.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, why would they make that restriction if they have like some known issues?
Well, the known issues, that's what they're saying. The known issues came in Europe. Most of the people that got the issues, the blood clots, were under 55 and they were women. So
yeah,
it's
it sounds
sexist.
Like AstraZeneca is not paying the right people in Canada.
Yeah, they're sexist. The vaccine is sexist and ageist. So.
Okay.
Yeah, just thought I'd tell everybody.
Well, we knew that.
Yeah, we knew that already. And of course, we can't,
And racist.
Yeah, well, yeah, we already knew that one. That one's a given. Yeah, that one's, true. We don't even have to say it anymore. It's just a... Okay. We can't do a segment about vaccines without mentioning Pfizer. This was, somebody dug this up from CNN back in 2009. CNN sounded much different in 2009 than it does now. Now it's just, a Cuomo brother or a Anderson pooper, making some statements about how everything is racial and whatever. But this report from Pfizer 2009.
It is the world's largest pharmaceutical company. And that's why this news last fall sounded like a huge victory for the government and a huge loss for Pfizer.
The largest healthcare fraud settlement in the history of the Department of Justice.
The government was building a case against Pfizer for fraudulently marketing a drug that had raked in hundreds of millions of dollars in profits, a painkiller called Bextra. Pfizer aggressively marketed it for uses and in doses not approved by the FDA. Instead of prescribing, say, ibuprofen at pennies a pill, they prescribed Bextra at nearly $3 a pill for all kinds of unapproved uses.
Sales were very good.
It brought Pfizer nearly $1 billion in profits, and it cost us all because Medicare, Medicaid, and our private insurance picked up much of the tab. Mike Laux, then a federal prosecutor in Boston, launched an investigation.
If the company is able to push the product for the unapproved indication, then it makes a mockery, if you will, of the FDA approval process.
Even though prosecutors said the illegal conduct was tolerated and encouraged by sales managers across the country, Pfizer escaped the ultimate punishment.
Just as giant banks on Wall Street were considered too big to fail, Pfizer was considered too big to nail. Why? Because a company convicted of major fraud would automatically be kicked out of Medicare and Medicaid. Pfizer would no longer be allowed to bill any federal health programs for any of its products. It would be a corporate death sentence.
If a company like Pfizer is excluded from Medicare and Medicaid, they're out of business.
Lewis Morris, a top lawyer at the Department of Health and Human Services, told us Pfizer's collapse could leave thousands out of work, millions not getting their medications.
We have to ask whether, by excluding the company, are we harming our patients? Are we harming the beneficiaries who need these critical drugs?
The logic is just outstanding.
Yeah, so
isn't
Pfizer's holding America hostage.
Basically.
Yeah.
They basically said,
held
if you shut us down, what's going to happen to all the people who rely on us?
Yeah, that's incredible.
It's a very similar argument to the 2008 collapse of the banks.
Yeah.
What would happen if they shut down all the banks? What are people going to do with their money?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't think we ever ran down the list of the Pfizer lawsuits over the years.
Ooh, you have it?
I have it in front of me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so Pfizer has been in big trouble for a very long time. In fact, I'll just start off the list with Pfizer received the biggest fine in U.S. history as part of a $2.3 billion plea deal with federal prosecutors for mispromoting medicines, that's Bextra and Celebrex, paying kickbacks to compliant doctors. Pfizer pleaded guilty to misbranding the painkiller Bextra by promoting the drug for uses which it was not approved. That's the one you were just mentioning. Biggest fine in U.S. history for that deal. In the 1990s, Pfizer was involved in a defective heart valves that led to deaths of more than 100 people. Pfizer had deliberately misled regulators about the hazards. So this is not just whoopsies, made a bad thing. Deliberately misled regulators. The company agreed to pay $10.75 million to settle Justice Department charges.
That's like a slap on the wrist.
Totally.
10.7 million. Well, I guess in 1990 it's a lot, but still.
Pfizer paid more than $60 million to settle a lawsuit over Resulin, a diabetes medication that caused patients to die from acute liver failure. In the UK, Pfizer has been fined nearly 90 million euros for overcharging the NHS. So for defrauding the taxpayers in the UK, the National Health Service. Pfizer charged the taxpayer an additional 48 million euro per year. That should have cost 2 million per year. So there you go. Pfizer agreed to pay $430 million in 2004 to settle criminal charges. These are criminal charges against Pfizer, that it had bribed doctors to prescribe its epilepsy drug, Neurontin,
I remember the story.
Yeah, for which it was not approved. Again,
I didn't realize it was Pfizer.
Doctors to prescribe medicine that isn't needed.
Yeah.
In 2011, a jury found Pfizer committed racketeering fraud in its marketing of the drug Neurontin. It's a different case, but about Neurontin again. Pfizer disclosed that it had paid nearly 4,500 doctors and other medical professionals some $20 million for speaking on Pfizer's behalf. Again, illegal. In 2012, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission announced it had reached a $45 million settlement with Pfizer to resolve charges that its subsidiaries had bribed overseas doctors and other healthcare professionals to increase foreign sales. Pfizer was sued in a U.S. federal court for using Nigerian children as human guinea pigs without the children's parents' consent. Pfizer paid $75 million to settle in Nigerian court for using an experimental antibiotic, Trovan, on the children. The company paid an additional undisclosed amount in the U.S. Undisclosed amount in the U.S. to settle charges here. Pfizer had violated international law, including the Nuremberg Convention, established after World War II due to Nazi experiments on unwilling prisoners.
Hello.
Yeah.
People, come on.
Among widespread criticism of gouging poor countries for drugs, Pfizer pledged to give $50 million for an AIDS drug to South Africa. Later, however, Pfizer failed to honor that promise. So, and it goes on and on. This was kind of a truncated list that I found over here on Matthews and Associates.
Lawyers working for the people.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's just insane they just blatantly are not just like whoopsies. These are like federal criminal complaints, and they're paying out billions of dollars for purposefully breaking the law. And yeah, it goes back to what you played in that CNN clip. Too big to nail. They are holding the U.S. and now, dare I say it, the world hostage. And again, to bring it back, Brazil. The Brazilian government was trying to cut deals for the Pfizer vaccine, but they wanted, to be able to have compensation for if and when people get hurt by the vaccine. And they said, no way, Jose. And Pfizer wanted Brazil to give up its military bases as collateral for the deal.
That's right.
Pfizer wanted Brazil to put up its military bases as collateral for the vaccine deal. It's just insane. What else is there to say?
Why would anybody trust, out of all the vaccine companies, Moderna has its own problems, so we've documented some of that, but Pfizer's just like ridiculous.
I know. That's the problem. Everybody has even just going off of, if you're just reading the Better Business Bureau for Pfizer, you wouldn't trust a single
the history
product to them. It's crazy.
Stop this progress before it is too late.
Yeah. And in that, with that, Gons, I think it might be time to take a little breather.
Yeah.
It's break time.
It's out of control,
folks.
man.
With that, we're going to take a quick little break, but don't go anywhere, because after the break, we've got our politics section. We got Kamala hacking it up again. We've got some news about Major Biden. Of course, we've got a WAPO fact check on Biden, so that's interesting. Also, some Trump news. I'm so happy that Trump had something we could actually report on. We got some My Pillow guy and Q stuff. I don't know. It's just all over the place. A lot of great stuff after the break. So don't go anywhere. But before we do, we want to take a second and thank some of our producers. Woo! That's right. I said producers because we are on the value for value model. For those who don't know, the value for value model is really simple. You may have noticed that we don't read any advertisements. We don't have any affiliate codes. We're not trying to sell you any supplements. If you did see any ads on this, it is without our consent, and we're not getting any money for it. In fact, we don't get any corporate money whatsoever, because every corporate sponsorship is a form of censorship. And here's the thing. Our accountants are not very happy with us that we don't do advertising. But as Edward Bernays, the father of advertising in the mid 20th century and nephew of Sigmund Freud, to paraphrase, oh, that was a Freudian slip there. To paraphrase Edward Bernays, the common man needs an elite man to construct his worldview, tell him how to feel, tell him what to buy, tell him what his problems are and how to solve them. And indeed, that's what advertising is. They're famous for making up problems and then selling you a product to fix that problem. But not here, folks. We are we do our best, not only for us to separate ourselves from the system of mind control that is advertising. Of course, Google and Facebook, as a lot of big tech companies, as much as they like to brag about their cool tech, Over 90% of their profits come directly from advertising. Do you really want your podcasters getting paid for the same business as your technocalypse overlords? I didn't think so. So we're on the value for value model, which means we put out the value, we do it 3 times a week, and we like to think we do a pretty good job. And if you get any value out of this, you have the opportunity to put some value back in. And it's not just charity, it's not just donations. It's really taking responsibility for your own media future. No longer, says the Canary Cry News Talk listener and producer, shall we let the advertising companies tell us what to think, tell us what to buy, tell us how to feel. Instead, if we want to participate in some sort of media, if we want to get our news from somebody we trust, then, we got to divorce ourselves from that system that expects everything for free with just a pinch of mind control involved. So our producers, who we'll thank now, have decided to hold up the fist in solidarity, to let out a rebel yell and support the show. And that's the only way we can do it. It was a little bit scary this week, Gons, but we did have some producers come in. The people still want us to do the show, and that's nice. So let's take a second and thank some of those producers. Gons, are you ready?
No.
Okay, I can wait.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Yep.
First of all, folks, one of the easiest ways to become a producer of the show is by heading to patreon.com/CCNT. That's patreon.com/CCNT for Canary Cry News Talk. We have one new producer over there, Gons. You want to know who it is?
Yes.
It is producer Roselle F.
Thank you, producer Roselle.
Depending on how you pronounce these double L's, it could be a really fancy way of spelling Rosie.
Oh.
Yeah.
Or Roselle.
Roselle. Whoever you are, thank you very much
for
supporting the show.
It's the producer of the shit. It's not some whoever.
Oh, well,
How dare you?
I want to make sure that they know that we tried our very best to pronounce their name correctly. And thank you for becoming a producer of the show. And remember, out there, if you're in the chat or alone in your car, remember to thank a producer today. They are the reason that you get to listen.
Yep.
Oh, I'm still going.
You're still going.
Next, we do have patreon.com/Canary Cry Radio. For those who don't know, we have 2 shows. One of them is called Canary Cry Radio. It's an interview style show we've been doing since 2012. You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk right now, 2 separate shows. But we do like to thank producers for joining the patreon.com/Canary Cry Radio page. And our first producer is producer Sarah S.
Thank you, producer Sarah S.
Thank you very much. And Sarah comes in and says, I did it, guys. I love you. I became a patron just because of you. I love you guys so much, and I thank you. I'm in on a monthly level, and I also am looking to do a larger one-time sometimes offering. I didn't see a way to do that one-time gift, but I can look again. I love you guys so much. We love you, Sarah. Thank you so much for being a producer. And yes, those one-time, sometimes producerships are not on Patreon, but you can do that over at canarycryradio.com/support, which we'll talk about in a second. But thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you for all the love, and we love you back.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah.
Next, Gons, we have producer Adam M.
Was that Adam Mason? The producer, the director of
Mason,
of Songbird,
producer and writer of Songbird, the lowest grossing movie I've ever seen. And we got a little note from Adam M. Thank you very much, producer Adam. Hi guys, I've been listening to you for about a year now, and I'm finally financially stable enough to set up a monthly payment and not have to worry about canceling or anything. I hope it helps out. Keep doing the Lord's work. Thank you, producer Adam. Thank you for doing the Lord's work as well. And this was encouraging because, of course, we don't want anybody to stretch themselves to support the show. If financially supporting the show is not in the cards, by no means put yourself at risk. But I am happy to hear that Adam, he's in a better place than he was a year ago. That's always nice.
Amen.
And we've been able to be a voice in his ear while things got better. So thank you very much, producer Adam, for coming in when it worked for you.
Yeah.
Instead of just forgetting about it and never producing. So you're the man, Adam. Okay, and lastly, we have producer I Am Clay Now.
All right, producer
Thank you very much.
Clay Now. What were you before?
I Am Clay Now. Yeah, that's a good question. And I don't believe we had a note from producer I Am Clay Now, but thank you very much for supporting the show.
Very good.
Now, here's the thing, folks. A lot of people don't like Patreon. That's okay. There's a lot of reasons not to like it. It's cool. We support you no matter how you want to become a producer of the show. That's why we have canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. canarycryradio.com/support is a great way to become a producer of the show. There's literature over there on the value for value model, the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames. You can become a producer on a monthly basis there, or if commitment is not your thing, you can go ahead and make that one-time, sometimes producership in any amount. And there's also cryptocurrency, all sorts of fun stuff. So go check it out. Guns, who do we have coming in on the PayPal?
On the PayPal. Sorry, I got to switch back here. I do things. I'm like doing things behind the scenes here while you do your thing here at the beginning.
I know that.
Getting stuff that's going to publish later set up and whatnot.
It's part of the teamwork. I blab for as long as possible, which gives you a chance to get things done.
Keep yapping,
do your
man.
taxes.
Keep yapping, man.
What does he say? Oh, keep yapping, man.
Keep yapping, man.
Yeah.
It's from the debates.
Speaking of which, since you brought it up,
okay.
I have been told by Jade Bouncerson that the show notes that you have up for today's...
Already fixed.
You already fixed it.
Already
fixed.
fixed.
You're on him.
All right.
Okay,
and not only that, I was on the... well, we'll get to it. Okay, first up here from the PayPal producers.
I don't know if you fixed it. I just reloaded and it's still the episode 317.
Well, then it's not my problem. It's the problem of Restream. Because I fixed it. Restream,
right.
Why aren't you helping out? All right. Or maybe flush your cash or something. All right. First up,
cash.
I'm trying to get to the producers.
Oh, what?
Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you ready to thank producers from PayPal?
Ready when you are.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just making sure.
Okay. All right, I want to thank our first PayPal producer,
Lydia G. What is your issue today, man?
Me? I'm waiting for you. You're sitting over there in silence.
Well, yeah, because you kept talking over. Because I tried to get into it like 4 times, and you kept like running into me. It's your fault. Next up, thank you, producer Lydia G. She's actually a new subscriber, so thank you, producer Lydia.
Yeah.
We appreciate
monthly producer Lydia.
Yes. Next up, producer Samantha M.
Thank you very much, producer Samantha M.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Next up, we have producer Saul coming in with the pocket full of 7s.
Woo! Thank you very much, producer Saul.
And he has a note for us. Hey, Gons Basil, just thought I'd mention that I often listen to your show a second time each episode on Spotify while I work, and today something weird happened. Normally, you guys are on my top 6 when I open the app or on my recently played, and today you guys were removed from both. I had to search your podcast, which I haven't had to do in ages. This was a first for sure. Has this happened to anyone else? So maybe in the chat, if you do listen to the show, well, I guess if you're in the chat, you probably don't listen to it on Spotify. But if you're listening now and you're listening on Spotify, let us know if you had some issues with finding us. It's possible that, Spotify looked at our transcript and decided to remove us from
I wish we had a transcript.
Well, they have a transcript of us.
Funky little things happen like that all the time, but I have not heard of anybody else having the problem. It does not surprise me.
No, not at all.
But good job, Saul, for persevering.
Yeah, appreciate you checking it out on multiple outlets there. Next up, we have producer Malik.
Thank you very much, producer Malik.
And finally, we have producer Kimberly W. with a pocket full of sevens.
Thank you very much, Kimberly W.
And that's the one I actually had in there, Basil. I think you put it in there after I did. I tried to get it to it.
I didn't. Yeah, okay, I see it. It is in there twice. Yeah. And Kimberly says, Widget the Poofy Cat says, hi. Thanks for being one of the only sources of news that is safe for my psyche. Ooh, safe for your psyche.
I like that.
We can add that in somewhere.
Yeah, we are safe for people's psyches. So that is the list of financial producers for this episode. You can go to canarycryradio.com/crypto to contribute with your cryptocurrencies. Actually, let me check. I'm certain we didn't get any new crypto donations, but I can take a look there for a second.
Okay.
Jade Bouncerson, thank you for the timestamps. And yes, we are trying to expand the whole concept of timestamps and chapters with Podcasting 2.0. And so she's contributing to that endeavor. And by the way, with Podcasting 2.0, we are on Breeze. It's an app that's still in development, but we have the ability to accept Satoshis. Those are the smallest units of Bitcoin through the app. And anybody interested in that, take a look, because we're on the cutting edge of some of that stuff that is not really common yet, but.
Yeah, Podcasting 2.0. I think one day we're going to do a real deep explanation, maybe a whole piece on it, just so everybody can understand. I know a lot of people still just watch the videos on YouTube and stuff, but podcasting is a much more decentralized, uncensorable style. Is kind of like the ham radio of audio broadcasting right now. It's a very safe way to make sure that you get the podcast and it doesn't disappear into censorship the Google hole.
Yeah.
But yeah, Podcasting 2.0 currently being developed by a great team, and one of the notable participants, Adam Curry over there on the No Agenda show, the original podfather of podcasting, which will include cool things like podcast chapters, which just seems like a duh. I mean, that's like, it's about time that becomes like a normal thing. But also, the value for value model built right into the infrastructure, where you can kind of like pledge, 1 Satoshi per minute or something like that. Very cool system. In its infant stages right now, but we are keeping up with it, because that's where the future is.
Yep.
None of these third-party corporations deciding if you can or can't listen to the show.
Yep. And you can actually go to podcastindex.org, I think, to check out some of that stuff. If you're into it, it's a little bit techie and whatnot, but some people do enjoy it. Other ways you can support the show is with your time and talent. You can send us jingles, or you can send us art.
One art, please.
And first up here, we did get a video. Are you okay playing this one, Basil? Because I wanted to make sure. Okay, so let me get that set up.
I will say, why don't you do it first? Yeah.
Okay, so here it is. I don't know about the music. I just don't want to deal with the copyright thing, but we'll play it anyway. Here's a for those of you watching. I'll just play the music lightly. It's an 8-second clip of an Asian woman. I think. She has a mustache. I don't know what's going on, but
so this was the Canary Cry Dutchman, was it not? This was producer Lloyd.
Yes, producer Lloyd.
Okay. Producer Lloyd, who made your happy birthday Trump deepfake.
Yep.
You followed through and heard me talking about, we were talking about the social media 50-year-old man who deepfaked himself into being an attractive young woman. And I made lots of comments about, hey, maybe that's a solution to my problem. I'll just deepfake myself into an attractive young Asian woman. And thank you to Producer Lloyd for following through. This is hilarious. And I will say, before anybody gets too excited, Producer Lloyd did comment, there's no pictures of Basil on the internet, so it was really hard to make a deep fake of him. But, I think it's the spirit of the thing comes across. I kind of was looking at it. Don't get too excited. I don't think it looks too much like me. I think there's the features, categorically the features are similar, but that doesn't come as a surprise to anybody. But this was, I was very happy. I was flattered, Producer Lloyd, that you would make these dreams come true of me being deep faked into an attractive Asian woman.
It might be your actual mouth, though, because you have shown the
mouth might be, yes, my mouth you can see sometimes on the internet. I don't think a picture exists of my actual eyeballs, but this was a really good shot. Took a good swing at it, Lloyd, and it's the thought that counts, and I appreciate it very much.
Yes, so this is the kind of thing that I don't think any other show.
It's hilarious to watch.
It's hysterical. Having it on loop. I would be very curious what other podcast gets deep fakes of the hosts in as pieces of art. I mean, we've got to be on the bleeding edge of that. I don't think there's any other podcast getting that much. Well, maybe, I don't know, some of the bigger ones get that kind of attention. But
who knows?
Who knows? Not independent
there we
ones.
go. The King's Kid. Yes, Producer Lloyd is over in Twitch today.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much, buddy.
Perfect. Thank you, Producer Lloyd. From the bleeding edge of deep fakes to the more archaic form of art, we move on to Mr. Magoo coming in with another piece.
Oh, good.
The True Adventures of Basil and Gons, Episode 1, The First Encounter, also called Da Da Da.
Okay.
And
Da Da Da.
Do you want to read through?
So this is regarding our origin story,
yes.
Our Marvel Cinematic Universe origin story, where we were working in the same room in the tech department of a megachurch in Southern California. But it says here, The True Adventures of Basil and Gons, Episode 1, The First Encounter, also called Da-Da-Da. And there's you and I working at desks facing each other here at work, the sign says. And I think that's you leaning over saying, do you like canaries? Hi, I'm Gons. I like swimming. And Basil with googly eyes, in real life googly eyes and a little man bun. Why, yes, Basil is the name. Rapping news is my game. And the rest was history. Very, very good summary, Mr. Magoo. That's almost exactly how it happened.
We should just put this on the About page. Just if anybody asks how it got started, just there you go. In one piece of art. Thank you, Mr. Magoo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Magoo. Always a pleasure.
Yes. Next up, we have one from the Hungry Hungarian.
Oh, good.
With his blue sketches, his famous blue sketches.
Blue pen.
Yep. And the sketch of... Oh, yeah, I think his other thing is Mr. Jab, but we call him the Hungry Hungarian.
Oh, okay. So this was very fun. He's got a great pen style. This kind of reminded me of, never mind. I'm not that much of an art connoisseur.
I know you start mentioning names of people that we don't know.
Yeah, names of artists that I barely know anything about. But this is the picture of a man sitting in a chair facing an easel with a painting palette there on the ground. And on the canvas is a painting or an image of what looks to be like a fireplace with some logs burning. And then within the fire of the fireplace is the all-seeing eye. And he's holding out his hands as if he's keeping warm by this painting of the Illuminati eye. And down below it says, most people don't really want the truth. They just want constant reassurance that what they believe is the truth.
Ain't that the truth?
Ooh. Yeah, very good. Thank you very much to the Hungry Hungarian. What is the name you said he's also going by here? Sketch
Mr. Jag?
By Mr. Jag.
Mr.
Okay,
Jag,
there we go. I just want to make sure we call him what he wants to be called. This is great. This could this could get pinned up on the refrigerator.
Yeah, t-shirt material.
Speaking of which,
next up, producer Ali, and wow, just incredible. I don't even know how to explain it. You can give it a go. I know what the reference is, but
I don't know if this is warranted or not, and certainly it is not, but I've come to feel very proud of producer Ali, because, you know, she's pretty much created a piece of art for, I'm almost positive, every single episode, maybe minus one, in the past year, which is 3 episodes a week for an entire year. That's 156 or so pieces of art. And I mean, she was great to begin with, and I know we say it every show, but you know, I feel proud, like a proud, not like a dad, maybe not even like an uncle, but like a proud, maybe not even like a teacher. I mean, I don't even know.
Running out of influential adults in people's lives.
I know.
But like a coach?
See, I'm trying not to give myself too much credit because I have nothing to do with it. It's just I've been able to watch it, and it's wonderful to watch. Anyways,
like the local librarian, seeing a young child go from.
Yes, I'm like I'm like the encouraging librarian.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's me. Okay, today's image, I don't have the text of it, so I'm going to take a run at it.
Yeah,
if you have a note, you can tell me. A beautiful picture of a cat.
It's Monty.
That's
it's one of the Monties. Yeah.
Yes, one of the Monties. For those who are new to the show, I have 3 cats. They're all named Monty. Leaning into the frame, sniffing at what I can only assume is a salmon arm, or an armed salmon. It's it's a salmon, and at the front, underneath the face of the salmon, you can see some human fingers sticking out.
I know, it's kind of creepy looking.
It really is. It took me a second to get it, but. What does the note say?
The full caption here. One of the Monties has located the source of the bad smell in your domicile. It is a salmon arm from Monday's mushroom picking Flippy story.
That's what it is.
Kind of a combination.
Yeah, very good. The smell is still here. I looked around. I can't find anything. I don't know what the smell is in my studio here, but you know, you get used to it.
That's all right. That's another
beautiful.
Excellent
Thank
piece.
you very much, producer Ali.
Great job. Keep it going. And last but not least, from the art world, we have producer Teresa, and she has a little piece of art here. Fun and Flirty podcast number 14344. I don't know what the numbers are for. Do you know what the numbers mean?
I'm not sure either. No.
It's got me on the left there. Happy wife, happy life. Shiny, uncrusty. That's my new shaved look there. And then on the other side is you with the googly eyes. DC versus Marvel. Plants versus Bacon. And it has the rest of it kind of confuses me. What is it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think that's a robot, a flippy
robot. Okay.
You know, just stealing our spouses.
Yeah.
Flirting with our spouses,
flirting with the spouse.
Yes,
okay,
we got a little plant there for Basil. And then
there
Directive. I'm not sure what Directive Maybe the robot's directive is to flirt with me. Anyways, thank you very much. Who is this? Producer Teresa?
Producer Teresa,
recognizing us for the fun and flirty podcast that we are. Canary Cry News Talk, fun and flirty.
And there you have it. That's all of our producers directly contributing to the show in multiple ways with your time, talent, and treasure. We appreciate it. We cannot do this show without you. And I think the content, it just keeps getting better. You know, the things we find in the news gets translated and turned into what can be used as memes or, you know. Yeah. I mean, these can work as memes.
Artwork and comic strips and jingles and music, you know, and it all stems from just analyzing the news that's out there. Yep. All we do, just take a look at the mainstream, connect the dots, call them out.
That's right. That's right.
All right. I think it's, let's see, what do we have? I don't think you don't have the meetups lined up or anything.
I don't. I still need to work on a page. I'm trying to do a .com/meetups thing, and I've just been having issues with it. But yeah, that's okay. We'll get that up. Our website, our canarycryradio.com website is a complete disaster right now.
We are working on it.
Please don't judge us for our inability to put together a website. I almost
don't want to tell anybody to visit our websites right now. We're in the process of
getting them redone. It's in the jingle of our support page.
Well, they got to go to the support page. I mean, there's no avoiding that. But okay, let's wake on up.
Yes, it's wake-up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Okay. Are you ready for some Kamala Cackle?
Yeah.
Kamala Cackle. All right. So this is a clip of Kamala Harris, our vice president, soon-to-be president. Just a matter of time here. And I think she knows it because she just can't handle herself.
People are seeing that, affordable childcare is a big deal. More parents are seeing the value of educators when they had to bring their kids and said, we're not paying them nearly enough.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. What? It's like somebody's like tickling her feet with.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like she's being tickled. She's trying to fight
weird.
Through.
It's like she doesn't know what to say, so she laughs.
The value of educators when they had to bring their kids.
That's not coherent.
And she doesn't say anything.
No, that's what I'm saying. She doesn't know what she's saying. She loses her thoughts. So instead of Joe going, she does the laugh.
Yeah, it's like a vocal cover up for having a blank or something like that. You know, this is a problem with her, and it's been a problem for a long time. These fits of laughter that she kind of breaks into at really awkward times. I mean, one of the more recent notable ones was, she was asked if she's going to visit the border, all the kids in pods, and go see the crisis, the humanitarian crisis at the border. And she just starts laughing. Yeah. It's like, what in the world? And it is. I think it's this nervous laughter where, when she doesn't know what to say or she's running out of, script or something, she just starts laughing. And it's almost like she's trying to cue everybody else
to start clapping or something.
Something, yeah. It's like, I'm laughing, so let's move on, or laughing, so don't worry about what I'm saying, something like that. And it's gonna catch up to her sooner or later. It's just, ow, frick, ow, sorry, this cat just clawed me so hard. Ow.
Time stamping that is going at the top of the show for the RSS feed. Just you screaming in pain. I thought you were like trying to do
so much blood.
I thought, oh no.
Oh my god.
Do you need a break?
I think Monty just loves Kamala so much.
She was activated.
Ow, that was like in there.
There's so much blood. I love that line. There's so much blood. Hold on, I'm gonna try to time this. Are you okay? Are you literally bleeding?
I'm okay. I'll survive.
Okay. Let me try this. I have a little clip from the old Batman where the Riddler and the Joker laugh together. And the Joker, the Joker connection is interesting because on the day of the inauguration, she was wearing purple. And remember I pointed out how the Joker is usually seen wearing a purple suit, very similar to this purple suit that she was wearing. But let me see here.
Educators when they had to bring their and said, we're not paying them nearly enough.
I don't know. It kind of works, doesn't it?
It is. Yeah, I didn't even notice. You said you added something in there?
So that's the Joker and the Riddler.
Back to what I was mentioning.
Yeah.
Politicians have been ruined on much less than this really awkward, badly timed laugh that's meant to get her out of something. And I was immediately drawn to the connection with Howard Dean in 2004. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but Howard Dean was trying to...
I love this clip. No, I just love this Howard Dean clip. It makes me laugh every time.
Yeah, so Howard Dean was he was ramping up for a presidential bid in 2004, and let's just play the clip and talk about the ramifications after.
All right, I'm going to start it a little bit into it so we don't have to sit the whole minute here, but okay.
I was about to say, I'm sure there's some disappointed people here. You know what? You know something? If you had told us 1 year ago that we were going to come in third in Iowa, we would have given anything for that. And you know something? Not only are we going to New Hampshire, Tom Harkin, we're going to South Carolina and Oklahoma and Arizona and North Dakota and New Mexico. And we're going to California and Texas and New York. And we're going to South Dakota and Oregon and Washington and Michigan. And then we're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House. Yeah!
So, for those who don't know the story, Howard Dean was trying to become the president, and he had this little episode, and he gave out this little scream, and it stopped his presidential race in its tracks. He just immediately lost all momentum, and it was all pointed back to this weird noise that he made. And it's been used as an example of little eccentricities can really ruin a politician.
Well,
and this was nothing. It was just one little scream he did once, and people were calling him crazy. And not just Republicans either. The Democrat Party turned on him after this.
I was going to say, maybe it was different. It was a different time, 2004 was. Yeah. Because if you think about it, that little rant there and the scream ruined him. It could have been just an excuse to get this guy out because the Biden has said so many more crazy things and he's still around. So I don't think it's just that, but
I mean, it is interesting how the standards seem to have changed. Not to say that this Howard Dean scream, I don't think it necessarily deserved to stop his campaign.
No.
But whatever it was the straw that broke the camel's back, and it was dead in its tracks. But I have a feeling that this laughing thing might catch up with Kamala someday. Mainly it's not even the sound, whatever. Everybody's laugh is weird.
Yeah.
But just the timing. And she'll do it when she's talking about really sensitive topics. And I don't know. It's weird, man.
Never do it, Slim Jim.
That's a great little ISO.
Fantastic ISO. It's just it's made for moments like this.
Well, it may have been made for a moment like this. This is a story coming from CNN.com. The headline: Biden's dog Major involved in another biting incident. Yeah, this dog, man. Now, I wanted to bring the CNN article because it's way more fun to dissect CNN articles than almost any other article. So let's get into it. The Biden's dog Major has been involved in another biting incident that required medical attention. 2 people with knowledge of the incident tell CNN. Okay, just right off the bat, Biden's dog has been involved in another biting incident. The dog bit someone. That's what happened. But this is CNN. So,
by the way,
it's
just to let you know, that video, there's normally websites have like a video at the top, like news websites especially. They have the video at the top and then they have the article underneath. The video has nothing to do with this incident. It has to do with Major Biden coming into the White House. It's it's like the same story they ran however many months ago.
Puff piece.
Yeah, it's a puff piece about the first dogs and whatever to be in the White House. So yeah, they're trying to soften the blow from the get-go. But go ahead here.
Totally. The Biden's dog Major has been involved in another biting incident that required medical attention. Keep that in mind. It required medical attention. 2 people with knowledge of the incident tell CNN. When was the last time you got bit by a dog that required medical attention?
I was bleeding a lot.
Yeah, I'm bleeding right now.
You just had your second or third Monty incident right on air.
Yes. Basil's cat Monty has been involved in another scratching incident. The incident, which involved a National Park Service employee, took place on the White House South Lawn on Monday afternoon. The employee was working at the time and needed to stop in order to receive treatment from the White House medical unit. Again, interesting detail. The employee was working. Okay. He wasn't just like
playing with the dog, or
he wasn't lounging on the lawn. Okay, we get it. He was working. First Lady Jill Biden press secretary Michael LaRosa told CNN that Major is, quote, still adjusting to his new surroundings. He's drawn blood twice. Still adjusting. Quote, yes, Major nipped someone on a walk.
Oh, I'm offended.
Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah. Can you say nipped?
What? No, you can. You can. It's not a big deal.
Yes, Major nipped someone. Again, there was it required medical attention. But yes, Major Biden nipped someone. Out of an abundance of caution, the individual was seen by White House medical something and then returned to work without injury. The National Park Service did not immediately respond to CNN for a request for comment. Major, a 3-year-old German Shepherd adopted by the Bidens in 2018. Okay, we gotta make sure that we know it's a rescue. Who saved who? Am I right? Received training within the last 2 weeks, according to the White House, following a separate biting incident earlier this month. That's 2 in 1 month.
Yeah.
At approximately 5 p.m. Monday evening, Major was spotted on a walk on the South Lawn with a member of the White House staff. Reuters White House correspondent Jeff Mason. Again, another Mason. This is the second Mason to pop up on this episode. Tweeted a short video of the walk. Oh, good. Major is leashed in the video, something that has not always been the case during other walks by the Biden dogs around the White House when they are with the president and the First Lady or White House grounds Superintendent Dale Haney. On March 8th, Major caused an injury to a Secret Service employee at the White House, doing enough damage that the person needed treatment from the White House medical team. At the time, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki referred to the injury as minor. I think it's injury. It's funny. His name is Major, but it was a minor. Okay,
Major, minor,
and chalked up Major's behavior to, quote, getting acclimated and accustomed to their surroundings and new people. Psaki said Major was, quote, surprised by an unfamiliar person. Again, they're re-reporting on the first attack.
Yeah.
Major and the Biden's older German Shepherd, Champ, were almost immediately sent to the Biden home in Wilmington, Delaware, following the incident, CNN previously reported. Psaki said that was a planned trip as the First Lady Jill Biden was headed out of town. President Joe Biden said in an interview with ABC News earlier this month that Major was receiving training. Quote, "You turn a corner and there's two people you don't know at all. And Major moves to protect," said Biden. "But he's a sweet dog. 85% of the people there love him. All he does is lick them and wag his tail. But I realize some people, understandably, are afraid of the dogs to begin with." 85% of the people in the White House love the dogs.
That's such a weird number.
I don't know if that number seems too low or seems too high or just too specific. It's just very strange. Like, obviously, he obviously hasn't done the math. I mean, that would be insane. If one day there's like an office poll going around while they're calculating exactly how many people love Major Biden. But it's just very strange. 85% of the people there love him. You can tell the kind of confidence that Biden has in this. Because if you're trying to say, like, oh, everybody loves him. Some people are afraid of dogs, understandably, but everybody loves the dogs. You would say, like, 99% of people love them. You know, if you're using it sort of euphemistically or metaphorically or whatever, you know, maybe you'd say 90% of people love them. Some people are scared of dogs. But to say 85%, it just seems like way too specific for me. And it gives the impression that, like, a lot more people don't like this dog than there should be.
Yeah. This is the other comment from Biden here.
Come on, man.
So
that's about it.
Here's why I bring this up. Besides the fact that it's funny and there's weird quotes in it, I don't think this is the last time this dog thing is going to be an issue. I'm not saying the dogs are going to keep biting people, but there's going to be some sort of meta narrative put in place. I don't know when. I mean, maybe the next year or so. If I had to predict, I'd say before 2022. There's going to be some sort of meta-narrative with this dog that's going to be used for political purposes.
Yeah,
maybe the dog catches COVID. Maybe the dog needs to be put down and it's used for like some sort of sympathy thing. Maybe it's used as messaging for China. I don't know what it is, but you know, it's too much. You know, one time is one thing, two times is a coincidence. The third time, it's a pattern. And there's some sort of reason why this dog is holding such prominent space in mainstream news. Something is going to happen with this dog, and it's going to be of some sort of relevance other than a puff piece about a dog. Because this is the third time. This is the third time that this dog has been in the news.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
The pattern has been established.
Right. That's what I was going to say, was that Biden's injury was the first time we heard about Major Biden, correct? That he was chasing after him out of the shower and he got hurt or whatever.
The first one that no, you're right, because that means 4. The first one that got me, that perked my ears up about this was the puff piece about who pours the kibble. The who pours the kibble puff piece. Does Joe or does Jill feed the dog? That was the first one. It came in like the first week of his presidency. And then you're right. Then there was the tripping, breaking his foot thing, and now 2 dog bites by Major.
Okay, so this is November 29th was when Joe Biden has hairline fractures in his foot after slipping while playing with his dog Major.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the elite might be thinking, how can we take this guy out? How can we take Biden out of office?
Biden killed in office by his own dog.
His own dog. Because then it's it's not a Republican.
There's a pattern of violence with this dog.
There's something, you can't be mad at a dog. He's just a dog. Biden's the innocence of Joe wrestling with
not
Major.
An assassination. It's
not an assassination.
There's no political motive. There's no geopolitical thing. You can stop the conspiracy theories in its tracks.
But then playing both sides of it, they can say that he's a German Shepherd. So it's a Nazi salute, you know what I mean? All the cute people
came from a Chinese-owned humane society.
Yeah, there you go. You got all the marks of a really nicely controlled narrative that only people that will look into it would even connect the dots. Most people will say, "Oh, what a unfortunate situation. Why didn't Joe bring in the dog whisperer?"
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm putting it out there. We're right about too many things. I don't want to be flippant about this, but this dog has a pattern of violence. It's been in the news way too much. Something about this dog is going to be of significance in the future.
Well, they do microchip dogs, especially those kind of dogs.
There you go. You know? Well, maybe it's some sort of intelligence leak. The Chinese are listening to the White House through the microchip in Major Biden.
Yeah. Well, we got more Biden news here.
Hairy legs. Got hairy legs. Liar!
This is Fox News. Biden earns 4 Pinocchios from Washington Post for false claim about Georgia voting law.
I loved this.
Liberal paper awarded Biden the designation reserved for whoppers.
Yeah, this is Trump would get 4 Pinocchios.
Yeah. The Washington Post fact checker knocked President Biden on Tuesday for falsely claiming a new Georgia law, quote, ends voting hours early, giving
Real quick,
him... Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have to stop because it just dawned on me.
Yeah.
Also, something with the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Major might have to wear a muzzle from now on.
Oh,
and
the
it's
mask.
It's a mask propaganda.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Okay. All right.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Just going on record.
Yep. Okay. Where was it here? Okay. Let's see. The Washington Post fact checker knocked President Biden on Tuesday for falsely claiming a new Georgia law, quote, ends voting hours early, giving him its harshest rating of 4 Pinocchios for spreading the misinformation. Biden repeatedly claimed last week a law signed by Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, Republican, would make it harder for working class people to vote. Quote, what I'm worried about is how un-American this whole initiative is. It's sick. It's sick. Remember how he yelled into the microphone?
Yeah.
I can't. Oh, let me catch my breath. Deciding that you're going to end voting at 5 o'clock when working people are just getting off work. Biden doubled down the following day in a written statement, quote, among the outrageous parts of this new state law, it ends voting hours early so people can't cast their votes after their shift is over. Washington Post fact checker Glenn Kessler wrote Biden's claim couldn't be substantiated. Quote, one can understand a flub in a news conference, but then the same claim popped up in an official presidential statement. Not a single expert we consulted who has studied the law understood why Biden made this claim, as this was the section of law that expanded early voting for many Georgians, Kessler wrote. Quote, on election day in Georgia, polling places are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And if you're in line by 7 p.m., you're allowed to cast your ballot. Nothing in the new law changes those rules. However, the law did make some changes to early voting, but experts say the net effect was to expand the opportunities to vote for most Georgians, not limit them, Kessler continued, noting some experts feel Biden may have been briefed on an outdated version of the bill. What are they doing over there at the White House? Kessler also wrote Biden may have gotten confused because the new law clarifies that early voting can be conducted, quote, beginning at 9 a.m. and ending at 5 p.m., as opposed to the previous framing that simply noted early voting, quote, shall be conducted during normal business hours. Quote, but as noted, the law also allows individual counties to set the hours anywhere between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., so the practical effect of the 5 p.m. reference in the law is minimal, Kessler wrote. Quote, we sought an explanation from the White House for the reason for Biden's remarks, but did not receive an on-the-record response. Kessler explained why Biden earned the dreaded 4 Pinocchios for his falsehood. Quote, Biden framed his complaint in terms of a slap at working people. The law would end voting at 5 o'clock when working people are just getting off work, or ends voting hours early so working people can't cast their vote after their shift is over, he wrote. Many listeners might assume he was talking about voting on Election Day, not early voting. But Election Day hours were not changed. An additional mandatory day of early voting on Saturday was added, and 2 days of early voting on Sunday were codified as an option for counties. Quote, somehow Biden managed to turn that expansion into a restriction aimed at working people, calling it, quote, among the outrageous parts of the law. There's no evidence that is the case, he wrote. So there you go. That's why he earned the 4 Pinocchios.
Yeah, you know, there's been all this talk about the Georgia laws. And yeah, during his press conference, his big press conference, he spent so much time about calling how it's so sick. It's sick. Getting very angry about these Georgia laws. And yeah, thanks to Washington Post fact checkers, liar, liar, pants on fire, Biden. Big, huge lie.
What I'm worried about is how.
Should we play that clip? I have it here.
Sure, if you got it, might as well.
Deciding in some states that you cannot bring water to people standing in line, waiting to vote. Deciding that you're going to end voting at 5 o'clock when working people are just getting off work. Deciding that there will be no absentee ballots under the most rigid circumstances. Liar! It's all designed, and I'm going to spend my time doing 3 things. 1, trying to figure out how to pass the legislation passed by the House.
I'm trying to get to the part where he gets mad.
Republican voters I know. Number 2, educating the American public. The Republican voters I know find this despicable. Republican voters.
Oh, hey.
The folks outside this White House. I'm not talking about the elected officials. I'm talking about voters. And so I'm convinced that we'll be able to stop this because it is the most pernicious thing. This makes Jim Crow look like Jim Eagle.
The Jim Eagle clip.
It's all related.
It's all related.
Wow.
It all connects.
Yes, him. It's his lie. He lies.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything that comes after the lie is based on the lie. And that includes Jim Eagle.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not so mad he lied then, because I'm glad we got Jim Eagle out of it.
Well, but here's the other thing. Maybe the reason why Washington Post would do this would take the attention off of everything he said afterwards and get everybody focused on what he actually said instead of the Jim Eagle, because they weighed their options. You know, they're like, well, what do we do? Do we debunk Jim Eagle? Or do
they ran the calculations and it's like, nope, Jim Eagle is going to ruin our chances for 2024.
I don't understand. Jim Eagle has to be a lot worse than this moment here. It's got to be. It's got to be like on par or worse.
4 Pinocchios.
4 Pinocchios.
Sorry, Biden.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, let's talk about Trump a little bit.
Oh, let's balance it out. Launch a new age.
Now, this is coming from our favorite hardcore political publication, Vanity Fair.
They're so fair.
Vanity Fair has this headline: of course Donald Trump crashed a wedding and gave a rambling, incoherent speech about Biden, Iran, and China. Of course he did.
Incoherent, huh?
Am I right, guys? Orange Man bad. So I'm just going to read a little bit of it here, and then I want to play the video. Not much else is needed after that, but let's set the scene. One wedding-related fear many people have is the prospect of a drunk guest grabbing the mic and through slurred words asking everyone to take their seats so they can just, quote, say a couple of words, tripping over the band leader's foot in the process and yelling, "Hey man, watch where you're going," before launching into a rambling, incoherent speech about how they and the bride were supposed to be together before the groom came along and stole her. Presumably fewer. So there's just an imaginary, a fun little work of fiction to open up this article. Presumably fewer, if any, have ever worried about a former president of the United States wandering into their reception and giving a toast that involves ranting about how the election was stolen from him, in addition to some incomprehensible thoughts on the situation at the border and how he could have made a beautiful deal with the Iranian government, the likes of which the world has never seen. Until now, moving forward, people will likely have the possibility in the back of their heads that an uninvited Donald Trump might approach the dance floor while everyone is eating their salads to complain about no longer being president, or at least the ones who choose to host their affairs at his Palm Beach Resort will. Yes, according to video footage on Saturday night, Trump made his way into a wedding reception being held at Mar-a-Lago and gave a toast that was less about the happy couple than it was about the ways he's been wronged recently and why Joe Biden is doing such a poopy job.
Poopy job.
And here's the video that they have so eloquently set the scene for. The emotional priming.
I turned off the news. I get all these flash reports. Telling me about the border. They're telling me about China. They're telling me about Iran. How are we doing with Iran? How do you like that? Well, they were ready to make a deal. They would have done anything. They would have done anything. And this guy goes and drops the sanctions. And then he says, we'd like to negotiate now. We're not dealing with the United States. They don't want to deal with us. And China, the same thing. They never treated us that way, right? You saw what happened a few days ago. It was terrible. And the border's not good. The border is the worst anybody's ever seen it. And what you see now, multiply it times 10, Jim. You would know how to handle it. He's the only one I know that might handle the border tougher than me. But we have to, and the tough is in the most humanitarian way, because that's what it is. What's happening to the kids, they're living in squalor. They are living like nobody has ever seen anybody. There's never been anything like what's happening. And you're going to have hundreds, and you have it now. They have the airplane photos, the shops, and they call them shops. And these things are showing thousands and thousands of people coming up from South America. And it's going to be, it's just, look, it's a disaster. It's a humanitarian disaster from their standpoint, and it's going to destroy the country. And frankly, the country can't afford it. Because you're talking about massive, just incredibly massive amounts. Our school systems, our hospital systems, everything. So it's a rough thing. And I just say, do you miss me yet? As we were saying, we did get 75 million votes. Nobody's ever gotten that. They said, get 66 million votes, sir, and the election's over. Well, I got 75 million, and they said, but you know, you saw what happened. 10:30 in the evening, all of a sudden they said, that's a strange thing. Why are they closing up certain places, right? Now, a lot of things happening right now. I just wanted to say, it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to have you at Mar-a-Lago. You are a great and beautiful couple. And for many, many years, special.
All right, there you go. That's the clip.
And then he went into a rounding rendition of L is for the way you look at me.
Yes, factual information.
So, I mean, you can tell, obviously, the opening article that I read made it sound like he was belligerent, made him sound like he was rambling, that nobody wanted him here, yada, yada, yada. He was killing it. They loved him there. That was his zone.
Right.
I mean, if you're having your wedding at Mar-a-Lago, nobody who's not a fan of Trump is having their wedding at Mar-a-Lago.
Right.
So I'm sure having Trump show up at their wedding was just a huge bonus for them. And you can tell everybody in the crowd, they're cheering, they're laughing, they're agreeing with him. You hear, pictures getting taken. He obviously knows somebody there. He was calling somebody by name and inevitably did go on about how great the couple is, et cetera, et cetera. So anyways, this is Vanity Fair trying to make a whole lot of something out of nothing. And there you go. Sure, he went on a little walkabout talking about the election and how he would have done such a better job at being president, but he's Trump. What do you expect? And no, he's not drunk. He doesn't drink, I don't think, right?
Yeah, as far as I know, I've heard people say that. So, the thing, when I saw the headline, I was like, oh boy, what did he say? What, did he slur some words or something like that? And then you watch the footage and you realize, or at least I realized, that the reason why Vanity Fair here thought he was drunk, and I think first off, the person doing the writing of this article here didn't comprehend what Trump was talking about, per se. But beyond that, the footage is pretty bad. It's like a bad audio recording of
like
the
a cell phone video.
Yeah, like a cell phone video. He's kind of far away. Whoever's videotaping is a little further back, I think. So there's a lot of echo. And that can certainly make it sound like he's slurring and, because it's not as clear. And I think that's part of why this person thought like, oh, drunk and slur and Trump. But
I think it was wishful thinking.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like if your presupposition is Trump is Orange Man bad, then you're going to have your confirmation bias. Everything that he does in the footage is going to affirm this idea that he's drunk and slurring and missing power and all that kind of stuff.
He's been out of the news and ratings go down, so anything you can write about Trump in the news will get you attention. It's an economic thing. I mean, it doesn't matter what the guy does. He was obviously beloved at this wedding. And people were stoked, but you got to write your orange man you got to fill your Orange Man bad quota or else you might be on the chopping block for those next round of journalistic layoffs.
Right, and he might be on an early campaign trail here. People talking about 2024, but some people saying it'll come much sooner.
What I'm talking about, Steve, is what I have been doing since January 9th. All the evidence I have, everything is going to go before the Supreme Court, and the election of 2020 is going bye-bye. It was an attack by other country, communism coming in. I don't know what they're going to do with it after they pull it down, but it's
hang on a second.
Hold on. Donald Trump came back in office in August.
Whoa, that's a big claim. That was Mike Lindell, CEO of My Pillow, ranting about how Trump.
I gotta go buy a pillow, man.
Well, he's ranting about how Trump is going to be in office in August. This is on War Room with what was his name? What's the guy's name? I'm totally blanking on his name.
It's the Bloomberg guy.
No, not Bloomberg. This is
no, it's not Bloomberg, but it's the guy who started the Bloomberg News. No, not
it's
Bloomberg.
No, it's not. This is.
Oh my gosh! Settle down, Guns. Just find his name. You're getting
Steve
so worked
Bannon.
up
Thank you,
this.
chat. Steve Bannon. So he's ranting about it. But did you notice the background?
Breitbart. Thank you. That's what I meant to say.
Breitbart. Yeah. Did you notice the background there?
No.
Okay, so behind Mike Lindell is a painting of an eagle. One of the eyes it's only showing one of the eyes of the eagle. It's got the blue marking there, and it kind of looks like the all-seeing eye. But then on the top left of this painting is a singular eye.
Yeah, that is weird.
Why show what
the
other
eagle
reason
is
to show
kind of
that?
like looking up at this traditional looking all-seeing eye thing up in the corner.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is, but
that is weird.
It's very weird. Yeah. So Mike Lindell.
This whole thing is weird, though. So again, I mean, Mike Lindell, he was sort of peripherally considered like a Q influencer, I would say. I don't think he ever explicitly talked about Q, but he was right there neck and neck with Linwood and
it became it's the people that have been labeled Q by the mainstream. Because they picked up the narrative. They picked up the narrative
the
where the Q
voter fraud stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's go ahead.
Just to review, the president was supposed to be reinstated on March 4th. Then he was supposed to be reinstated on March 20th. Yada yada yada. We don't need to get into all that. But now Mike Lindell, the pillow guy, is saying that Trump is going to be back in office in August. And this is exhausting me. It's exhausting me. And you know what I think is the big point of this? I think he sells a lot of pillows.
He's selling a lot of pillows.
I think whenever he comes out and he picks up becomes the crusader for Trump, I think he sees a big bump in pillow sales. I know for a fact people bought a bunch of pillows of his strictly because of his defense of Trump and connection with trying to expose the voter fraud stuff. Now, to be clear, everybody knows where we stand on the shady things going on during the election, but I'm kind of tired of this. I'm kind of tired of this guy. I think he's selling pillows. I think this is an economic move for him. He's got a lot of fans, strictly the folks who would be watching the War Room. And if it is true that the Supreme Court was going to use whatever power that they have to put Trump back in office, which I don't think is possible. I mean, I'm no Supreme Court scholar, but I don't think if Mike Lindell proves that there is voter
pillow guy
fraud,
proving.
Yeah, I don't think if he wins some sort of case in the Supreme Court, I don't think that they can go ahead and put Trump back in office. I don't think that's possible. But if it is, again, I'm no constitutional scholar, but if it is possible, can he just do it and then show us? Does there have to be this roiling up, this hopium again, peeking its head up to try to keep people on the line for Trump coming back in office? I just don't see who benefits from this. He does, because he inevitably sells more pillows, but who else benefits from being kept on the hook and kept doped up on the hopium until August, look, I'm just saying, if we're going by the previous pattern of these types of predictions, probably Trump will not be president in August. That's my wild prediction. But I just don't get it, man. Why this? Why so much?
Well, first off, it's your point about why doesn't he just do it? If there's any credibility to what he's saying here, why would the CEO of My Pillow Guy or the My Pillow guy be the one to?
Because he's a patriot.
I'm
He's
sorry.
A patriot.
I'm sorry. I must not be patriotic enough to understand. But the other thing,
right? Well. Yeah.
To your point,
I think the reason why he's the face of this is because he's popular. Yeah. It's like putting out PR for the court case, which is this weird new phenomenon specifically around this thing where you have celebrities of a court case like Linwood or who's the woman who got sued by Dominion.
Oh, no, I'm forgetting the name. Somebody in the chat.
I can't believe I forgot her name. She was like such a archetypal figure in America for a while there, and I can't even remember her name. That's crazy.
Go through so many news things on brain. doesn't always pick up on it.
It's the celebritization of people talking about how they're going to bring a court case.
Sidney Powell.
Thank you, Sidney Powell. Yeah. I don't know.
So to your point about him trying to sell pillows, his pillows must be fantastic to be able to sleep at night, knowing that he is swindling the public with this nonsense that he's peddling out there.
Nice one. Yeah. And again, I don't know if it's a swindle or not. I mean, I couldn't know. That's the whole point. There would be no way for me to know if what he's saying is true, if he really has, this all wrapped up in the way he wants us to think he does. There would be no way for me to know. But there's been a pattern of this with him and others like him for the past 6 months or more, where, a lot of talk and not a lot of result, except for he's selling more pillows.
Sell more pillows.
Yeah.
All right. There's one more story.
More about that.
Did we even play the politic jingle? I don't remember if we did.
I don't know either. Play it now.
It's Latin for many. Tick. Now suck your blood. That's politics.
A new world order. New world order. New world order.
Welcome to Chinese Show!
Well, the New World Order is supposed to be just a crazy fringe conspiracy theory, but not so, according to the New York Times. An alliance of autocracies? ? China wants to lead a new world order.
Oh.
New York Times, folks. This is not raw story.
Yeah, it's the Gray Lady, the most magical newspaper in the world.
Let's see what it says here. President Biden wants to forge an, quote, alliance of democracies. China wants to make clear that it has alliances of its own. Only days after a rancorous encounter with American officials in Alaska, China's foreign minister joined his Russian counterpart last week to denounce Western meddling and sanctions. He then headed to the Middle East to visit traditional American allies, including Saudi Arabia and Turkey, as well as Iran, where he signed a sweeping investment agreement on Saturday. China's leader Xi Jinping reached out to Colombia one day and pledged support for North Korea on another. Although officials denied the timing was intentional, the message clearly was. China hopes to position itself as the main challenger to international order, led by the United States, that is generally guided by principles of democracy, respect for human rights, and adherence to rule of law. Has America upheld those things well?
It's a matter of degrees.
Okay. Such a system, quote, does not represent the will of the international community, China's foreign minister Wang Yi told Russia's Sergei V. Lavrov when they met at the southern Chinese city of Guilin. In a joint statement, they accused the United States of bullying and interference and urged it to, quote, reflect on the damages it has done to global peace and development in recent years. The threat of a United States-led coalition challenging China's authoritarian policies has only bolstered Beijing's ambition to be a global leader of nations that oppose Washington and its allies. It shows an increasingly confident and unapologetic China, one that not only refutes American criticism of its internal affairs, but that presents its own values as a model for others. Quote, they're actually trying to build an argument like, we're the more responsible power. We're not the spoilers or an axis of evil. John Delury, a professor of Chinese studies at Yonsei University in Seoul, said of China's strategy. As a result, the world is increasingly dividing into distinct, if not purely ideological camps, with both China and the United States hoping to lure supporters. Mr. Biden made that clear in his first presidential news conference on Thursday, presenting a foreign policy based on geopolitical competition between models of governance. He compared Mr. Xi to the Russian President Vladimir Putin, quote, who thinks that autocracy is the wave of the future and democracy can't function in, quote, an ever complex world. He later called the challenge, quote, a battle between the utility of democracies in the 21st century and autocracies. China, for its part, argues that it is the United States dividing the world into blocks. Mr. Xi set the tone shortly after Mr. Biden's inauguration, telling this year's World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, that multilateralism should be based on consensus among many countries, not a view advanced by one or few. Isn't that what China didn't they just admit to doing that just earlier in this article? To be dividing with the... Okay, anyway.
No, the glorious nation of China would never do anything hypocritical.
Of course. Quote, to build small circles or start a new Cold War, to reject, threaten, or intimidate others, to willfully impose decoupling, supply disruption, or sanctions, and to create isolation or estrangement will only push the world into division and even confrontation, Mr. Xi said. Takes one to know one. In pushing back on criticism on its policies in recent days, China has championed the primacy of international organizations like the United Nations, where Beijing's clout has grown. Mr. Wang noted that more than 80 countries at the United Nations Human Rights Council had expressed support for China's actions in Xinjiang, the far western region where the authorities have detained and interned Uyghur Muslims in a campaign the United States declares a genocide. Wow, 80 countries at the UN Human Rights Council had expressed support for China's actions?
What?
That's insane. What kind of Epstein sting op honeypot operation are they running on these countries?
Well, it happens to be that those same 80 countries are in debt to China as their economies collapsed and China swooped in and offered them loans that they could never pay back.
Yeah, let me skip a couple paragraphs.
It's the Chinese financial model of imperialism.
Right. It says here, China's most striking alignment is with Russia, where Mr. Putin has long complained, about American hegemony and its abuse, in his view, of the global financial system as an instrument of foreign policy.
Just in the spirit of fairness, that situation I described, America's done it too.
Oh, America's most egregious, probably.
I think we invented it.
Yeah, I think we were in charge.
But China has done a great job of getting support in the United Nations using the same
It's very
strategy.
Easy as Americans for you and I to not just fall into kind of this American exceptionalism, but forget that, America has been, remember that num 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 clip about meddling with foreign elections?
Yeah,
we don't do that now.
exactly.
We don't still do that now. It was the question, and the guy was like, "Well, num 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 num."
Yes, we actively interfere in foreign elections.
Yeah, that's our thing. So for us to be outraged,
so much so that a man who was paid to lie about it couldn't lie about it.
Yeah, on national television, on like Fox with what's her name. So this goes on here and talks about China and more of China's stuff. But I think coming at this, we're Jesus followers. We don't necessarily ascribe to a particular denomination. We don't push out that kind of thing. But this general thing about, number one, that there's nothing new under the sun, and that, there's none righteous, not one, except Jesus. Those types of concepts really come to light or are affirmed by stuff like this, because as the United States goes into these different countries, and Putin's little quote about how the United States has used our economic sword to take over other nations and control other nations, 100% true, and
right.
And so for them to it's just a matter of perspective, from the perspective of Russia and maybe even the perspective of China. They're doing what's right. We're doing what's right, going up against this evil thing called America, the United States, and all the evils they've done. And it just really, to me, speaks to the truth of what Scripture tells us, is that, hey, we're fallen in sin and there's none righteous, and we're just all screwed up. We all think that we're doing the right thing, but really it's not like that. So
yeah, I mean, if we were born in China and were Chinese patriots, we would probably be fully on board. But we're not. So
I don't know if we'd be fully on, but I mean, there's still people that are in China that are like, eh.
I think there's plenty of people who the brainwashing is strong with. I mean, even look in America, where freedom is, the top priority, and there's still people brainwashed into,
people that don't realize that it's. Yeah, they don't realize that it's the freedoms that this country has that allows them to say what they say about their own country. Because if you're in China and you rail against China,
you disappear.
Goodbye. Yes.
No matter who you are, they made that point with Jack Ma.
Yeah.
Nobody is above. He's gone. He got disappeared. He said something bad about the government, and the richest man in China just disappeared one day.
So there you go. That's China wants to lead a new world order, and in reality, it's not just China. It's not just Russia. It's not just the United States. The new world order is a spiritual movement that is bringing the prophecies of the Bible come to a reality.
Yeah, and speaking of the beast system,
Speaking of the beast system is a jingle that I usually play when you set me up like that. If I can find the jingle, because it's a good jingle, and here it is.
Speaking of the beast system, beast system.
It was real professionally done.
I'm the king of filibustering.
Yeah, you filibustered that jingle. This is a fun one. Reuters.com. Headline, out of my mind. Advances in brain tech spur calls for neuro rights. Ooh. A turning point for Rafael Yusta, a neuroscientist at New York's Columbia University, came when his lab discovered it could activate a few neurons in a mouse's visual cortex and make it hallucinate. The mouse had been trained to lick at a water spout every time it saw two vertical bars, and researchers were able to prompt it to drink even with no bars in sight, said Yust, whose team published a study on the experiment in 2019. Quote, we could make the animal see something it didn't see, as if it were a puppet, he told the Thomson Reuters Foundation in a phone interview. Quote, if we can do this today with an animal, we can do it tomorrow with a human, for sure. Yust is a part of a group of scientists and lawmakers stretching from Switzerland to Chile who are working to rein in the potential abuses of neuroscience by companies from tech giants to wearable startups. Following his team's discovery, he launched the Neuro Rights Initiative, which advocates 5, quote, neuro rights to protect how a person's brain data is accessed and used, including a right to mental privacy and to free will. Quote, right now, it's the Wild West, Yust said. In Chile, Senate member Guido Gerardi is pushing to translate those principles into law with a bill that would give legal protection to a suite of neuro rights and a complementary reform to the country's constitution. This month, the National Commission for Scientific and Technological Research began debating Gerardi's proposal, which got unanimous support from Parliament in December 2020. His office hopes the bill will be adopted later in the year. Quote, if this technology is industrialized without the proper regulations and rules, it will threaten fundamental human autonomy, he said in a phone interview. Meanwhile, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development has issued its own neurotechnology guidelines, noted Marcello Inca, a researcher at ETH Zurich's Health Ethics and Policy Lab who works on the OECD project. Quote, usually people only start talking about ethics and regulations after a big scandal. But with neurotech, I hope we can take on these questions before that scandal, he said. Advances in brain science, like those made by Yust's team, have made it possible to penetrate the brain using sensors and implants and access some degree of neural activity. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has approved deep brain stimulation procedures, implanting electrodes in the brain to treat a range of disorders from Parkinson's disease to epilepsy. And major tech firms from Facebook to Tesla are working on computer-brain interfaces to allow consumers to control devices with their thoughts, while some smaller companies sell wearable devices to monitor brain activity. But warnings of science fiction scenarios of for-profit mind control are overblown for a line of research that is still so young, said Karen Rommelfinger, director of the neuroethics program at Emory University in Atlanta. Quote, yes, the science will get better, not worse, she said, but exactly how it develops is up in the air. Inka at ETH Zurich said major ethical issues could arise if the data commercial neurotech devices elect.
I think it's collect, but it's a typo.
Yeah, it's misspelling there. Sorry. Inka at ETH Zurich said major ethical issues could arise if the data commercial neurotech devices collect is widely shared and analyzed without proper safeguards. Quote, we already have digital biomarkers that can indicate if someone is predisposed to developing dementia. I'm going to skip quite a bit of this article because a lot of it is known to our listeners, and just for the sake of time, but they go through a lot of the brain computer interfaces, all of that kind of stuff we talk about all the time, and strangely enough, she's doesn't want to regulate and doesn't want neuro rights for people. But moving on, Rommelfinger at Emory is wary of moving too quickly to regulate brain tech, which she said could stifle innovation. Yes, let's not give people rights to their own brain, because then we couldn't invent the things that would take away those rights. She recommends direct engagement with startups working on commercial devices, encouraging them to develop privacy-conscious and ethically minded products. Girardi favors strict regulation. Quote, we didn't regulate the big social media and internet platforms in time, and it costs us. We have lost control of all kinds of data, from our location to our romantic interests. It's all up for sale, he said. Quote, my proposal would give the status of your mind data the same as your organs, like your heart, he added. No one can interfere with it. If we allow for all this brain data to be taken, who knows what consequences will be? We'll have algorithms deciding what it means to be happy, Girardi said. Tim Brown, a neuroethics expert at the University of Washington, said the data currently being collected is not powerful enough to do that. No kidding, Tim. It's not about what we're collecting now. Quote, a lot of that brain data is basically noise, he said. But he noted scientists are working on algorithms to decode and analyze the data gleaned from EEG and functional magnetic resonance imaging scans, hoping to build computer models that can interpret an individual's mental state. He predicted the same dynamics present in the social media or search industry, where companies offer a service for free in return for permission to harvest user data, will likely surface in neurotech. That could lead to serious consequences for privacy in the coming years, Brown warned, with companies linking users' social media behavior to their brain images in real time to craft ads or other messages. He also worries about how neurotechnology might exacerbate existing patterns of discrimination and racism. In his research, he has warned of the possibility of, quote, mandatory neurointerventions when institutions like schools or prisons might deploy neurotechnology to assess mental states. Quote, are we going to see a situation where prisoners are asked to put their heads in a box and they are scanned to see if they're eligible for parole based on an algorithmic interpretation of their brain? Brown asked. Quote, what will the impact of that be on black and brown people, who we know are already disproportionately represented in these institutions? Yost says policymakers around the world need to start contemplating these issues now. He has been in touch with members of President Joe Biden's administration and the United Nations about neuro rights and related issues. Quote, "It's not about patching the law," he said. "These technologies affect the core of what it means to be human. The only way to tackle this is with new human rights." And if a better example of the beast system being grappled with in science is available, I do not know what it is. Gons, what do you think?
Yeah, this is the neuro rights. I'm glad that somebody's out there trying to discuss this, but I really do think that the progress is kind of unstoppable. I saw somebody yesterday tweet out, I don't know if you noticed, the one of Elon's rockets blew up again, and somebody pointed out everything this guy touches blows up, and he wants to put chips in our brains. Just kind of making the connection of like, wait, I don't know if that's smart. And also this idea, towards the end, it talks about people that are in prison and are we going to do neuroanalysis on them and stuff. There's actually a series on Netflix. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I'll try to find it here. But basically, the whole movie, or it's not a movie, it's like a short series. It's like 6 or 7 episodes. Is about this. It's about some prisoners that basically get tested on, and not to give super spoilers, but they're basically in like a virtual setting that they think is real life, and what are we doing? Whoa, sorry. And a lot of it had to do with because they are prisoners and they had some neuro stuff tested on them. And I'm trying to find it here. I don't remember what it's called. But anyway, I think it's called The Island. Yeah, it's called The Island. Did you watch that?
Yeah, okay. I never watched it, but there's been enough talk about it. I'm pretty aware.
Yeah. Or maybe not The Island. I don't know. Anyway, something like that. So, yeah, and again, this sort of thing, hearkening back to the VR story we talked about at the very beginning of the episode, it's just going to be kind of the natural evolution from VR goggles to, hey, I need faster connection, I need quicker, I need to be able to communicate ideas to you faster without words and stuff like that. Let's just connect our brains. It's much faster.
Yeah, sure.
And so in that realm, business and corporate and all that kind of stuff, this will continue to emerge, and we'll see. I mean, it's troubling that, and we've known about the mouse project of making them hallucinate, but I mean, that's something. I wonder if rich people do that already. If there's some island out there where they will connect stuff into your visual cortex, and you can just go on the craziest trip. Because they just,
I mean, I'm sure it is a thing. But, the point with this Yost guy is, the fun part about it, it is kind of like a Hollywood script. Like, he's a scientist who's responsible for discovering that you can, the mind control in its most science fiction-y form is possible right now with animals, and of course that just means tomorrow we can do it in humans. And he discovers this and goes, oh no, we need to get ahead of this thing. And good on Chile for getting ahead of it and making it a part of their constitution. I have a feeling that it's not going to be very high up on Biden's to-do list to guarantee neuro rights for Americans. I mean, there's a whole list of other rights that I don't think are necessarily at the top of his list of things to protect. So, yeah, I'm glad that there's a movement and it's making its way into mainstream media like this. I think most people, this is still just sort of such a fantasy idea where even if they do read it over here on Reuters, that they are going to just think it's so imaginary and not a big deal and not pay attention to it. But I think the point that they made in there with the big tech and social media is a great example. And hopefully, the best case scenario, barring any sort of, extreme beast system intervention, would be like, for once, can we please learn a lesson before it's too late and put these protections in place and not worry about innovation so much? I mean, the ethicist was saying, we shouldn't regulate it too much because then the innovation will slow down, which is literally saying, let's not make the rules to protect our neuro rights, because then we won't invent the things that would take away our neuro rights. Let's just let it sit for a little bit.
It is a nexus point here coming up. It talks about the Wild West and everything, but it's truly is first mover advantage with this stuff, the technology, and I just don't see much resistance coming from governments or corporations to prevent an onslaught. I think we're going to have to move to Chile, is what I'm saying. Eventually. I mean, there's literally going to be not pods, but like different, very much, I guess, districts, kind of like the Hunger Games, where certain areas are just ripe with neuro everything, and the other parts that are a little more protected, and it's really going to split like that. It's crazy to think, but I think that's it's kind of where we're headed here.
Yeah. So there you go. That's your beast system update for the day.
Okay, I got a quick AI thing, and then we will be out of everyone's ears here and eyes.
Okay. Artificial intelligence.
Now, they gave out a bunch of AI awards, which has been interesting. This first one here, ArgusPress.com, Bright Machines, named winner in 2021 Artificial Intelligence Excellence Awards.
Excellent.
The Business Intelligence Group today announced that Bright Machines was named a winner in its Artificial Intelligence Excellence Awards program. Bright Machines is a full-stack technology company offering a new approach to AI-enabled manufacturing. So you go to their website there, and they have this little group of robots. Where's that picture? I thought I had the picture ready here, but basically they have like a line of products. The meet your new workforce. It's a combination of intelligent software and adaptive hardware. Bright Machines microfactories automate repetitive assembly and inspection tasks. With predictable output, you'll increase capacity and improve OEE. And there you go. It's getting into dispensing, welding, fastening, assembling, pressing, labeling, vision, and testing. And, factory type of stuff. This is definitely going to take over any kind of factory job that's repetitive. Mm-hmm. At any level. They have it kind of with cars and stuff now, but I think it's just going to get worse and worse. And I thought it was an interesting name for a company, Bright Machines. Ooh. Are they really that bright, or are they like shining like the morning
star,
or like the false light of Lucifer, the counterfeit light? Moving on here, not surprisingly, Sogo named winner in 2021 Artificial Intelligence Excellence Awards. My question is, how many of these awards went out? Because I have 3 here, and I think there were more. Sogo Inc., an innovator in search and a leader in China's internet industry, today announced it has been named a winner of Business Intelligence Group's 2021 Artificial Intelligence Excellence Awards. It says here, Sogo has long been at the forefront of AI development and has made significant breakthroughs in voice and image technologies, machine translation, and Q&A, which have been successfully consolidated into its products and services. Sogo Search is the first search engine in China to apply knowledge graphs to help users find better answers to their queries. In addition, Sogo successfully launched the world's first AI news anchor. From facial expressions, language habits, to logical thinking capability based on knowledge graph systems, Sogu AI news anchor creates lifelike resemblance of human beings. With its latest upgrades, Sogu AI news anchor can be applied to live reports and interviews, combining mixed reality technologies, rendering the lifelike anchor in multiple scenarios, including news studios and outdoor venues. The Chinese company, the Chinese AI internet search engine company being awarded this thing. I don't know why you would award a Chinese company. This is a thing from Philadelphia or something.
Chinese given award.
And the third award, well, there's more. I mean, it's just weird how there's so many awards. KPVI.com, Samsara named winner in 2021 Artificial Intelligence Excellence Awards. Really pumping this up here. San Francisco, Samsara, the pioneer of the Connected Operations Cloud, today announced it was named a winner in the Business Intelligence Group's Artificial Intelligence Excellence Awards. Samsara's AI safety solution has been recognized in the computer vision category. Using trillions of IoT data points, Samsara's Connected Operations Clouds help more than 20,000 customers improve their safety, efficiency, and sustainability of the operations that power the global economy. More specifically, Samsara's AI safety solution uses sensors and AI-enabled cameras to bring insights to customers in real time. Some of these insights include distracted driving detection, real-time incident alerts, and preventative in-cab coaching, all of which are used by customers to protect drivers from potential accidents at a lower cost. And the reason why I bring this up is because the the logo for Samsara is the owl.
Yeah, well, and do you know what Samsara means?
What does Samsara mean?
Samsara, I believe, in Eastern traditions, is like the cycle, the birth, death, rebirth. Hold on, let me get an official definition here.
Yeah, if you go to Illuminati symbols,
the eternal cycle of birth, suffering, death, and rebirth.
There you go.
Yeah,
it's the Ouroboros.
Yes, it is the Ouroboros.
If you go to IlluminatiSymbols.info, it goes through a whole list of the owl symbolism, Bohemian Grove, Mazda being one of them. Mm-hmm. There's another Bohemian Grove picture from back in the day with the owl in the background. You have Harry Potter. You have the U.S. $1 bill, the Illuminati Minerval owl, and so on. So, no surprises there.
Perfect.
Yeah,
well,
perfect.
I'm glad they're going to be having their electronic eyeballs on me, making sure I don't fall asleep while I drive.
But hey, it's really inconvenient. It's really taxing on these machines to keep an eye on you. Why don't we just connect you directly? It just saves so much trouble. Just put that chip in your brain is what I'm trying to say.
That's a great point.
All right.
I think
done.
Yes.
No, I'm saying I think we're done.
Oh, yeah. I think we are also done. So, okay. There we go. Very good. How did we go along again today?
We did.
Oh, yeah. Again, over 3 hours.
Yeah,
we just can't help ourselves.
Yeah, we gotta go.
Yeah, we got to go. Okay, folks, thanks for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. As of now, we're going to be back on Friday. That is April 2nd, right?
Ooh, this is the last episode of March.
Just as time keeps on ticking into the future. So put that on your calendar. Make sure to turn on notifications. If you haven't done it yet, I'm looking at the likes across the web here. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, baby.
Subscribe, bell button, all. Like, subscribe, bell button, all.
That's right. And keep an eye out on Friday, April 2nd, for the next episode of Canary Cry News Talk. We will need some producers for that episode. So if you enjoyed this program, if you get any value out of what Gons and I do on this program, please consider becoming a producer of the show. It is not a joke. We are only able to continue doing the show if producers keep producing. So, hey, if you're out there and you've been enjoying the show for, any amount of time and you find it valuable, you find the information good, it helps you in your life in any sort of way, give us some time, pray about it. And if you feel led, please go ahead and become a producer of the show. It's the only way that the value for value model works. We will not try to sell you anything, whether it's from another corporation or our own new and improved supplements for male vitality or whatever. It's really it's an exchange here. If you enjoy the show and you want to keep it going, there's only one thing to do, and that's become a producer. You can do that by heading over to patreon.com/CCNT for Canary Cry News Talk. Or if you don't like Patreon, go on over to canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support. Go now. But I do want to thank our producers for this episode, and those producers include, for episode 318, producers Roselle, Sarah, Adam, I Am Clay Now, producer Lydia G, producer Samantha, producer Saul, Malik, producer Kimberly, and yes, that's it. Thank you all so much for becoming a producer of the show, keeping the show going. And if you're out there now, remember to thank your producers. Don't let another day go by without letting them know how you feel. And of course, thank you to Jade Bouncerson for the timestamps and all of our artists and musicians who keep the show interesting. That's right. And here's the thing, folks. If supporting the show financially is not in the cards for you, that is okay. There's plenty of ways to produce the show. That includes creating art, creating jingles, creating music. Send all that stuff to canarycryradio@gmail.com if you like it easy, or canarycryradio@protonmail.com if you like to keep it secret. Do that. We need it. Producers of all kinds keep this show running, and we are very grateful to all of them. Now, on Friday, I'll also be reading reviews. So if you have not left a rating or a review for Canary Cry News Talk on Apple Podcasts, you really should do that. It's the very least you could do to help produce the show. It's kind of hard to explain exactly all the ins and outs and details, but let's just say when you leave a rating and a review for the show over on Apple Podcasts, it goes a long, long way to helping new people find the show, or even better, helping the algorithms to recommend the show to people who have not heard it before. So go do that. Search Canary Cry News Talk on Apple Podcasts, leave a rating and a review, and on Friday we'll be reading them. We love them. We read all of them. And it's a great way to get on the show. So thank you very much. Let's see. Another way is to share the show out on your social media. Share it with your friends. You know the deal. We should all be used to that now. We understand that, social media just is what it is. But if you're still participating on it, if you're posting pictures of your vacations and your breakfasts, why not share an episode of Canary Cry News Talk? Do something good while you're on that Facebook or Twitter or whatever. That also goes a long way to helping out the show. You can just press share out this episode, maybe a different episode, whatever you want. Just help us out. Come on, help us out. Also, lastly, you got friends, you got family. They're starting to wake up to the fact that the world is not what it seems. And we think we're a pretty easy step into the expansive world of learning the truth about all these funky things. So go ahead and share an episode directly with your friends and family. way. It's much easier to listen to a new podcast that somebody you know and trust shares with you rather than an algorithm. So that's the best way to help out the show in that regard. So thank you very much. Here's the thing. We like to call that rattling cages. And if you need any other instructions, here's what you do. You walk right up to them, you grab them by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. Guns, got any last words?
Don't be fooled tomorrow.
Oh my gosh. Is it April Fool's Day?
Tomorrow is April Fool's.
Oh my gosh.
Beware.
Don't leave your homes.
Put 15 masks on your face.
15 masks. Don't leave your homes. And stay away from any German shepherds named Major. All right, everybody. Thanks again. Make sure to tune in on the 2nd of April. That's this Friday. We'll be back bringing you the important stuff. So thanks for listening to this episode of Canary Crime News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage.
Call them. They are scum.
Come on, man. Keep yapping, man. Oh, it's really a productive segment, man.
Aborted feces. Aborted feces.
Never do it, Slim Jim.
And melt those babies into candles.
Look it up.
Everybody loves waffles.
It's true.
Everybody loves waffles.
It's true.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
I want to shake things up, shake things up. I want to shake things up, shake things up. Leave the bird alone. I want to stir up some controversy. I want to rattle a few cages. I want to rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I get I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Little guy. Little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati.
It might seem scary, so frightening.
Another fun fact. Fun fact. Another fun fact.
Brings me back to my Screamo days.
In the future, humans will be confined in a people's zoo.
People, I'll keep you safe and warm in my people's zoo. I'll keep you safe and warm now in my people's zoo. You, yeah, you in my people's zoo. I'll keep the cameras on. Fat.